Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados, live right here on Thinking Critical YouTube. Hope everyone's having a fantastic week. We've got a gaggle of nerds together. We're going to talk about all the nerdy stuff, especially going on with comic books. But we'll hit some other topics as well, because we do have a well-rounded group of people to talk about these things. First, I do want to mention, first time and long time, Josh McDonald returned to the channel.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
You are correct.
I forgot how to use this thing.
I was muted, and then I was looking at another screen, just double checking something, and then you said my name. I was like, "Oh shit!" And I was trying to get there, but yeah, I'm here. I'm happy to be back.
But we got to meet each other in Dallas. You just backed out.
No.
he did forget to.
That bitch.
Wait.
How can he do this to us?
Hit the wrong button.
How are Josh and I going to finish each other's sentences now? Gosh dang.
Exactly.
Sandwiches. You finish each other's sandwiches.
Oh, yes.
But obviously, I also got to meet Max, but there's Josh. I think he's back. What, did you accidentally exit out?
Oh, no.
It's going to be a great stream. It's going to be a great morning.
Professional operation, everybody.
Yeah.
I hadn't even made jokes about you feeding Max French fries or anything.
I know. I was going to make a joke at the expense of Max's masculinity and say, I think my problem this morning is Max kept me up all last night. But we were streaming.
Is that what the kids are
streaming?
You were streaming.
Very nice.
No, it's instead of feeding the French fry, it's like the Lady and the Tramp. You know what the French fry?
Oh, the spaghetti.
Mhm.
Very nice. Meet in the middle. So, Josh, I have not watched Ironheart yet. There was a part of me that was tempted to say, Aaron, you and I need to watch at least the first 3 episodes of Ironheart and do a review this week for the Geek Fix. I decided to spare Aaron that and not make him do it. But you did watch Ironheart.
Yeah, because of this asshole that's over here on the far right. You know, he was like, we should watch it for the show.
We should watch it together.
It was supposed to be payback because we made him watch Daredevil Born Again, and he's acting like Ironheart is as bad, but Ironheart is way, way worse. It's awful. But if you do like I did and eat some fried chicken, some watermelon, have a little purple drink with it, it's a little more entertaining. You know, you engulf yourself in the culture, so you feel it a little more.
Oh my God.
Josh went to a dark, dark place. He thinks because it's Pride Month, he can get away with anything.
It's like bulletproof.
I think it's just that I'm on like 3 hours of sleep right now, but hey, what's
also,
up, guys?
15th, Josh, so no, you can't get away with it. Damn it.
I mean, that's past.
Subhuman said he thought Ironheart was great and the lead actress had great assets.
Is he talking about her tits?
No.
I'm assuming.
And
Her stock portfolio?
she's pretty flat.
I don't know.
Maybe it's her ass.
Perhaps.
I don't know. I don't
So
even know who the hell
let's have a serious discussion here, Josh. What's going on with Ironheart? Why wasn't it very good?
I mean, oh God, it's like, where do you start? Riri as a character she is so unlikable. Everything about her is just unlikable. She doesn't even know what her own motivations are. She says one thing, but all of her reactions are the opposite. The writing for the show, it feels like the writers didn't know what kind of show they were wanting to write. There are times in the show where it feels like it's made for tweens for the Disney Channel. There's times where it feels like it's trying to be a serious superhero show. There's times where it feels like it's supposed to be a funny show. There's times where they're supposed to make it feel like it's evil.
Well, that's because she's a supervillain. Oh,
Josh,
your mic died.
But you're right, dog. They make her out to be a supervillain.
So it follows the comics then. So it's all fine, right? Because as we've learned, if any casual can find a comic that it all correlates to a bad decision in a Marvel show, you have to accept it and love it and think it's great.
How is Parker Robbins the Hood? I like that character.
So miscast.
Okay.
So miscast.
He's got the dumbest haircut.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with the haircut. That's part of the problem is they're trying to make his story super serious, but everything that's going on around him is a complete and utter joke. So,
yeah.
What about the VFX? Did it at least look good?
Yeah, I guess the VFX weren't bad, especially for a TV show. Like that was probably one of the good things that had going for it was it didn't look bad CGI wise. I mean, it's better than a number of the Marvel stuff, so I'll give it credit there.
Is it gonna fall down because they dumped like what 3 episodes already?
Yeah, and they dumped the final 3 next week.
Yeah, and so does it have Bucky and Winter Soldier and Hawk Falcon vibes where they burned the entire budget in the first episode?
No, they pretty much did a whole lot of nothing for the first episode. It's just people talking. Even the second episode is mostly just people talking. The third episode finally had some kind of action going on, but it wasn't done very well.
Okay, so they burned the entire budget in the third episode this time.
I think it's all going to be in the final episode. So my buddy Brandon got to see all 6 episodes prior to dropping, and his comment was, so I watched Ironheart. The comic's better. Just so we're clear, I hate the comic, but the 6th episode is excellent. So,
okay. So it's like the 8th episode of Acolyte where you're like, oh, finally something happened.
Probably. I'm sure the 6th episode is where we get who Sacha Baron Cohen playing that character.
Very good. So you're excited about it?
Excited about the show or Sacha Baron Cohen?
I get the final 3 episodes.
Oh, I mean, I'm good either way. If I'd be okay if I didn't watch them, but I'll probably watch them.
Should Aaron and I review this thing, or do you think we're better just sitting on the sidelines and letting you take the bullet?
Look, it's whatever y'all want to do. I mean, Aaron can easily watch it if he would like.
Do not want.
Dude, not Mike crapped out again.
Yeah, Josh is having all kinds of technical issues. So, Max, you watched the show with Josh?
Yeah, we actually sat next to each other and watched it. Together. No,
put your hands on each other's thighs.
Exactly.
Here we go, buddy. Stay
so,
strong.
What was your take? Did you like it more than Josh? It sounds like he didn't appreciate it very much.
No, I didn't like it at all. Now, I will say the difference, though, is I think with Riri, we know what we're getting with this character. We already know that she's deplorable, abhorrent. Her behavior is nothing of that of a hero. But what pains me is like when I watch these shows like Daredevil or Secret Invasion or maybe not so much Echo, but like you watch Thor, Love and Thunder or something, and you just see a lot of our favorite characters be brought so low to a point where like this is like you're physically angry. I don't know if Riri does that for me. The Ironheart show, it's so laughably bad and just like amateur. And because we already know that the character, this is a villain arc, right? I don't really have an affinity towards her, so I don't get that same type of revulsion that I do with a lot of the other Marvel products. This I can scoff at and relegate to nothing more than just like, poop, right? Like it's nothing. But it is funny to watch just how incompetent the writing is. And I think that's what you have to judge the show on is like objectively, how bad is it comparatively to a lot of other Marvel products? And it may be one of the worst things objectively. But like if I watch a like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, that may actually give me more of a like a bad feeling because I have to watch my characters be assassinated, right? So I think that's the difference.
So you were more invested in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I mean, because we've got such great actors and you've got like such a incredible budget and you've got like these directors who should know what they're doing, but you've got a writing team who's done nothing of note and who write on the fly and they tried to be too edgy and it came across as once we see some of our favorite characters die in these horrible ways, it's like, okay, I'm out. They clearly don't care about their audience or the source material, and it shows. But with Ironheart, it's weird because they do care about the source material. They accurately like do everything to try and make Riri the exact same character from the comics.
Yeah, I remember watching, what was it, AntMan and the Wasp: Quantumania?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I like Ant-Man a lot. I thought Ant-Man and the Wasp wasn't a very good movie, but I was still kind of into the MCU at that point. The Endgame had just happened not too long before that. And I just remember getting really, really annoyed when not only his family, but everybody around him was making fun of Scott because he wrote a book about saving the world. It's like, literally, he fucking saved the entire universe. Without him, half the universe is still gone. He was the thing that had to happen for everything to come together. And they were just like treating him like such a loser.
Oh, and they do the same thing. Yeah, and they do the same thing in Ironheart, where Riri has a line that verbatim says, I won't diss on Stark too much because he contributed a lot to the field of that we're working in, of this industry, right? And I'm like, these writers don't even understand that Tony Stark sacrificed himself for the entire multiverse. Without his sacrifice, Riri, you wouldn't be alive right now. But he just, he contributed a few things to the field, right? It's just so condescending and pretentious, But you're right, Wes. They do that a lot in these films where they feel like they have to, lower the main character in order to prop up these crappy side characters that no one cares about.
It's a philosophy of zero sum. Yeah. And that's what most of Hollywood has, most of the entertainment industry has, a zero sum philosophy where the only way for them to get some or get their piece is by taking away from someone else. They're commies. What do you expect?
Yeah, that's a good point.
But even in the Loki show, I remember when he pulls it out and there's a bunch of Infinity Stones, like, oh yeah, these are worthless. Like, I don't know, man. You made probably $6 or $7 billion off of that idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it was a Rick and Morty writer, Wes, and it was funny. It was funny. You subvert everything. Nothing serious. Everything's
you
subverted.
Lampoon your entire thing, and that makes
Why
it
are you
better,
taking
right?
this so seriously? They're just funny book characters.
Oh, yeah. I always love that argument, Sully, because they're like, "Why does this even matter? Why is this so serious to you? Why do you even care? Why do you care so much?"
Really care about getting stuff into canon so that they can justify it.
We're fixing history here. Why are you so against diversity?
Guys, there's a drag queen. Okay, it's important.
Well, I mean,
who's the hacker and has nails that are way too long to hack things.
But
that's the conundrum.
Did it save lives?
Is it pathetic of me to buy into this stuff and care, or do you want me to care so much that I go and see the movie 5 times? You can't have it both ways.
Exactly. Yeah. And you nailed it, Wes. Yeah.
Well, no, that's exactly what that's what they want. They want you to just shut up, see it 5 times, but don't be mad when we shit on it in the process, as well as shit on you because we deserve your money. Fuck you. You owe it to us.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wes, do you have a Marvel product that's been the worst thing you've seen or encountered, or
it's got to be man, Quantumania is so bad, but I think Love and Thunder is worse.
Right, it's up there.
I mean, there's a couple of funny moments. Jane Foster's probably the high moment of the fucking movie.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Because during the first pre-Endgame, there were a couple of bad movies. Thor Dark World was a bad
Iron Man
movie.
2. Or Iron Man 3, I guess.
Iron Man 3.
Mm-hmm. But they never shat on you or the rest of their universe that they demanded and worked so hard to make you invested in. They never said you're dumb for caring about this.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's all they're doing post Endgame.
Yeah.
Those films seem to just be kind of bad. Where it's
just a bad movie.
Yeah, writing's bad, or maybe the cinematography is off, or the characters aren't fleshed out. Just normal bad.
Yeah, normal level
script didn't
bad.
come together. Script didn't come together. It's not cohesive. It's choppy. The tone's wrong.
Exactly. I would love for a film to just have that now.
I know. Yeah. I'd love to go back to the Thor: The Dark World days where that's the worst thing away. we got.
Yeah, where you're like, okay, it wasn't a good movie, but it pushed the plot. Or like Iron Man 2, not a great movie. I didn't like how they dealt with Demon in a Bottle, but they at least pushed the plot forward, and we're getting closer to the Avengers versus Thanos.
Yeah,
those kind of things.
And Hammer was a riot. Like give me more of that, please. But
I don't actually like that actor, but I think he was funny there.
I don't get that. I think Sam Rockwell's great in everything.
He's pretty awful and everything.
Going
I just
down
rewatched Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He ruins the entire movie.
He's perfect in that movie for the character in the book. He is absolutely perfect. The only thing that's wrong is they didn't have the budget to actually give him the second head, except for having it pop out of like his neck. They had to do a compromise. Otherwise, fantastic. Perfect.
He's pretty great in Galaxy Quest.
Moon was good too.
Mm-hmm.
Moon is.
I have tried watching Moon like 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get past the first 20 minutes.
I like Galaxy Quest, but not Sam Rockwell.
Directed by David Bowie's son as well.
Very cool.
It's wild we never got a sequel to that, but maybe it's for the best. Like it's just a perfect, it
I think we are getting a sequel.
How? Alan Rickman's dead.
Without Alan Rickman, I'm assuming. I thought they were saying that it was coming back. Everything's coming back for a sequel.
Yeah, they're bringing back Spaceballs with Josh Gad. Aren't you excited?
No. They'll be playing Barf's son Chunks. It'll be fun.
Funny.
So, I do want to mention that today's live stream is sponsored by Unholy Nightmare number 2. We got a nice promo I put together. Unholy Nightmare number 2 is live on Kickstarter. This issue cranks up the carnage with even more monsters, madness, and mayhem. And if you're a collector, buckle up, Buttercup. We've got foil and metal covers that'll melt your short box. Our very own Drew, aka Dolan Waddick, and Aaron Sparrow are back, and they've teamed up with Voodoo for the Golem add-on, a supernatural war story packed with fury, grit, and Nazi splattering vengeance. You're seeing the trailer now, but that's just the surface. In the final 48 hours, we're unleashing 2 killer covers. Aurelio's raw black and white original and a brutal full-color battle variant by JC Grande. Don't miss your shot. Scan the code or hit the link in the video description to back Unholy Nightmare number 2 today.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very nice.
Heck yeah.
It's good shit. I'm getting a little bit better at this. Now, Sparrow, we got a bunch of stuff coming up in a week's time, and you're actually going to be hosting like an end of campaign thing here on the channel.
Yeah. I'm gonna do. We're gonna do a closeout stream, like we did for Kneel Before Doomface. Just like we did the launch stream for both that and Unholy Nightmare. So I will be hosting. We'll have a bevy of guests on to come on and just have a good time. So you'll get a little nighttime live stream action from Thinking Critical.
But it won't be tomorrow. It'll be like the next Sunday, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. The JC Grande cover is pretty badass, dude.
It's really nice. He did what he's done so much great stuff. He's working on a book called Vincent Spector that I'm doing. He's working on he's done a Doomface cover for me. JC's really like getting out there and doing a lot of stuff. He does a ton of stuff for Drew. I'm really excited about Unholy Nightmare number 2. Like I said, it's when I read it, I told Drew, I said, what you did at the end here is so good. I wish I'd thought of it before you. And now I'm mad. So it was. I just thought it was such a good idea, to bring in a public domain character that I don't think eagle-eyed fans of 80s horror will probably be able to pick up the clues. But I think for everybody else, it'll be a big surprise. And then of course there'll be the people that have no idea who it is because they don't.
So it's like a Nemo showing up at Aquaman moment.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. So. I'm really excited, and Drew and I did the Golem together, which is the 10-page add-on, which tells the origin of that character set in World War II. So I really hope people check it out.
Why is he fighting Nazis if he's in World War II? Aaron, what are you trying to make a social statement?
No, it's they were the bad guys in World War II. I don't know if you're aware, but yeah, when we say Nazis, we mean like actual SS goose stepping part of the German army Nazis.
Ah, well, very nice. What else you got going on, Aaron? You get anything cool going this week? Did you show up on Popeye Culture or World Class Bullshitters?
No, Josh was doing a show that I'm not a part of. You know,
too good for you.
He was doing the floppy drop, and you know, I didn't have anything to contribute to that because I haven't been to the shop to buy any comic books. But and then Jeff was he had family visiting, so he didn't do a show on Tuesday. So I've been a rogue agent. I've just been working on post production on Kneel Before Doomface. We got the letters in. I'm giving notes on that. The rest of the day, I'm headed out to San Diego after we finish the stream here. I'm going to meet up with Murphy, and we're going to work on post production for Kneel Before Doomface. We're getting really close to closing out Backer Kid on that, or to launching Backer Kid on that. So the window, if you guys haven't jumped in on Doomface yet, is closing. And we also sent out an update last night showing off the Red Rain of Doomface cover. That'll be a Backer Kit exclusive. It can be added on for anybody who's pledged when we close the campaign, and it will be for anybody who went all in and got all the covers. It'll be automatically included in their tier at no extra cost.
Very nice. Did you get to make it to the movies or anything? Did you go see like 28 years later?
No, I haven't been to the movies since I saw How to Train Your Dragon, so I haven't seen anything past that. I'm still pissed about Lilo and Stitch, man. I'm still
You're bitter?
I'm still bitter. Yep.
Anti-feminist bigot.
Yeah,
I can do a whole show with Wes where I just tear apart everything that's wrong. Like, first of all, how do you do Lilo and Stitch and you take out the whole ugly duckling?
Uh-huh.
You know what? Don't get me started. No, I'm not gonna do it. That's not what we're doing. We got plenty of topics today.
I went to Lilo and Stitch with my kids, and like when it looked like Stitch might die, my youngest was like screaming. He was really upset. He really liked it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now I didn't get to see the ending because my middle son had to take a dump, and I had to walk out of the theater with him. And it took long enough that I didn't get to watch the end, but they thought it was pretty good, Aaron.
Well, your middle son was giving a commentary on it because taking a dump on Lilo and Stitch is what that movie did. It just took on the original. It just completely took a dump on it.
How can you remove Cobra Bubbles? Like they kept the character name, but they don't actually have Cobra Bubbles as like the actual character, right?
He's kind of divided. In you know, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we made like two characters out of him, and he's lesser for it.
Lame.
You know, Gantu is completely not there, which, you know, in order to get to the ending that they needed to get to, because they didn't use those elements, they didn't use the ugly duckling. They didn't, and that scene is so important to the original film. It's the crux upon which all of the emotion and all of the heart and all of Stitch's character like rests on. And they took that out. And then at the end, they have to justify what they've done. So they have a character say, well, Ohana means, you know, no one gets left behind. But remember, that means that you don't leave yourself behind either. So it justifies the selfishness of the character and everything. Yeah, everything that they did to ruin the heart of the original film. So I don't... from a technical, like, the performances are all great. The little girl who plays Lilo, fantastic. She deserves a much better movie than she was given. If you don't know anything about Lilo and Stitch, it'll be fine. You know, kids will enjoy it. Stitch is funny. You know, it's all that stuff is there. But if you were a fan of the original, or, you know, you want to see an actual movie where the filmmakers sit down and they think out their themes and they build, you know, lock each block in place to make it pay off in a satisfying way, this is not the film for you. You need to go watch the animated original.
I'm just saying that comment from Max's criticism of Lilo and Stitch about Cobra Bubbles was the gayest thing I've ever heard.
Cobra Bubbles does sound like a male stripper, doesn't it?
That's Max trying to make his tuition money. Cobra Bubbles on the stage.
Shake your money maker, Max. Break out the silkies.
Hey, I got to do something on the weekends to make some extra cash.
Oh, don't we all?
Cutting it.
Gas is about to be $10 in this state.
Yeah.
Josh, did you see Lilo and Stitch? Do you harbor these same issues?
I did not see it because I heard what they did at the end, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to go pay to see money for this." When you kind of abandon the idea of what Ohana actually is, and you try to change this concept of family and sticking together and being there for one another, I think you kind of ruin what the message of the original movie was. So I'll watch it when it's streaming. But I went from being super excited. There was a point in time, and Aaron and Maxim both can attest to this. There's a point in time where I was saying, like, this is going to be the best film of the year. It's going to be the highest grossing film of the year. And then it came out. I mean, it might still be. I thought it was good. I thought Jurassic Park was going to take it, and then they showed that new like monster Frankenstein
T-Rex?
alien. Whatever that new creature is that they made.
T-Rex.
T-Rex.
The Dunkelsaurus.
Oh, God.
Dementus Rex, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, it looks like T-Rex accident with Down syndrome. Like, I don't know.
I thought I saw Ricky Berwick saying that this thing looks like the Ricky Berwick of dinosaurs.
That's pretty funny. He's great.
It looks like the fucking the monster from Cloverfield.
Yeah, kind of. I like it as a monster. Like, as if it was like a Star Wars monster or some space monster, if they God forbid, gave us another John Carter and it was something that came out of the earth, like I'd be all for it. But in Jurassic Park, it's a little weird.
I think a T-Rex just works.
Agreed.
I mean, it's not like there aren't tons of other dinosaurs, and they did amazing variation. Like if you've read the Lost World book, the Carnotaurs in that are like chameleons, and but like super chameleons, and they blend up their environment. And I know they kind of stole that for the Indominus Rex, because they gave it a million powers that didn't pay off satisfying in any way. But man, if they hadn't bungled those other movies, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Rankosaurus Rex. But I'm with you, Josh. I think it might end up being Superman, dude.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
You don't think Superman's going to do well?
No, I think it's got way too much baggage.
I think it's going.
I don't think the
160
normies. I don't think the
opening
normies
weekend,
know any of that,
million worldwide.
I think it's got baggage even with normies in the sense that we've had so many bad DC movies that the normies.
Yeah, they took a 2-year break.
I mean, we'll see.
All I know is I put the fucking trailer on, and everybody in my house, my wife and my 3 kids, stopped what they were doing, and they finished it and said they wanted to watch it.
Yeah, look, I hope it's good. I want it to be really good, but I think you're gonna automatically have a bunch of people that are pissed off because it's not Zack Snyder doing it. That they're gonna come in being
if you had that many fans, the Snyderverse would still exist.
No, I know. I'm just saying they're gonna be the loud voices coming out saying, "Oh, this movie's dog shit," and da da da, and then that's gonna be the conversation for a little while. And then I think it's going to kind of deter a lot of normies from going to see it. They're like, oh, I'm hearing it's bad. Let me just wait for streaming.
Well, everyone's nitpicking it to death. Like even in our space, like everybody's just like every little thing in the trailer. It's like, okay, they just showed you an out of context clip from the movie.
Yep.
And everybody's like, this is
what we do, Aaron.
blah, blah, blah.
Fucking...
And I'm like, this is a version of Superman. Like, look, I know that like everybody is just like, they look at the Christopher Reeves version, which is the definitive, movie Superman version so far. But they just look at that and then they look at everything else and they go, well, that's not Superman. He can't be emotional. He can't come in and throw the desk. And I'm like, here's a comic book where he busted into Lex's office and threw the desk, and I don't mean that in the Shala Ball kind of way where it's like, here's one panel from one comic that exists to try to justify a stupid decision. It's like, look, it's going back to a comic book story. This is kind of set up the same way. The circumstances are different, but what he's trying to show you is the same. It doesn't bother me. I said my biggest concern about this movie is that everything I've seen so far doesn't connect in any kind of like, it feels like it's a different episode of a long-running Superman TV show. And so I'm like, how do all these things narratively come together? That's my biggest concern. I haven't seen anything in the movie that makes me go, this isn't Superman, and flip over the table and throw it at the,
I've seen a comic book where Superman held a man and told him he was going to throw him through the propeller of an airplane that was moving if he didn't tell him the truth. So, I mean, Superman's done some stuff, right?
Yeah. I think it's...
Yeah, it depends on what era you're in.
He almost slept with his cousin once.
They got to perpetuate the race somehow.
He couldn't marry Lois because she was a black girl all of a sudden. I mean, you can find all kinds of things in Superman's history. So it's like, it's just where are they drawing it from? So you can't say it's not Superman. You can just say it's not this version of Superman. Just like people say, oh, Batman killed in this movie. Well, Batman killed when he started out. Okay, yeah, but that's not the modern Batman. It's just like, what era are you pulling from?
I think there's a meta spin that we're not even acknowledging, that normies know who John Wick is and why you don't mess with John Wick's dog. So now let's have this kind of, what would Superman do if you messed with his dog? You know what I mean? In light of like 4 John Wick movies. And I'm like, because he's definitely not going to solve problems like what Wick did, but still, it's like we have this, hero over here. Don't mess with his dog. Oh, you messed with his dog. Oh, gee.
And James Gunn intentionally cast younger. Remember, the reason that he said that he didn't want to, because they had to reboot and they didn't want to go with Cavill was because he was looking for a younger Superman. So I think this is I don't know, maybe a year 2 Superman. Everything I've seen in the trailer shows that he's starting out. He's inexperienced. He doesn't, even when Lois is interviewing him and he kind of loses his cool, it's like, how are you even questioning me on this? And it's like, well, these are the questions that are going to be asked. These are the things that are going to come at you with what you're doing.
So you have to be ready for that Lois nagging Superman bit.
I don't have a problem with it. You know what? Go back and watch the
Superman
problem, animated series.
You're the problem, Aaron.
The Superman animated series is one of the greatest representations of Superman in multimedia, and Lois busts his balls all the time.
Yeah, I'm with Aaron. I didn't have a problem with that scene because Lois has to be the one to kind of. Clark has such good intentions that he's not going to think the way we think, but that's what makes Clark great. He's not going to have that, jaded mindset. So she's got to kind of snap at him to hey, this is the reality you're living in. I need you to be in this reality.
Yeah, that's media training.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she's doing is media training.
And there are visual things there that I didn't mind.
She
wasn't
backing her up, Doc. I'm shocked.
Lois wasn't you guys standing over Clark, so. But also with the throwing the death scene, we don't know if red kryptonite's in play here. It made it very clear that Lex was antagonizing it because he's saying, "Are you getting this?" or whatever to the bimbo with the phone.
And can we just say how nice it is to have a cool, calm, sinister, collected Lex, not a guy with big floppy hair going, gods and monsters. Put a little
peeing in a jar.
Oh. Yeah, Granny's peach tea.
Jesse Eisenberg trying to do his best Joker impression.
Jokes I've ever seen in a movie was that Granny's peach tea.
Yeah,
terrible.
Here's my question about that. Can we just focus on that for a minute? Is it actually peach tea or is it actually urine? Because it's very golden, and so that's a lot of pee. So either
it looks like a healthy diet to me.
Lex needs to go to the doctor. Or did he walk around LexCorp going, hey, you want to give a little pee to charity? Yeah, we're just doing a collection. Just go ahead and pee in this jar.
He was dehydrated.
It's a huge volume of piss.
A lot of vitamin C.
But I think Superman's going to do fantastic, and I'm hoping for a billion plus. Yeah. Although I still think Fantastic Four looks better, but I understand why people are more excited for Superman. So there we go. We do have some comments from the people I guess we should get to. Comics Exposed. Just wanted to say hi to my favorite gay couple before I go to sleep. Hi, Josh and Max. Have a good day, you two. Make wise choices.
Aww.
Very nice.
I recommend.
I made one little comment in a wrap up about Dallas Fan Expo. I thought it was hilarious. No one ever said anything to me, but apparently the joke was a hit, Josh.
It was very much a hit because, like I said, I had my Tuesday stream and that's all I heard for 45 minutes, and I'm like, I finally had to stop being I have no idea what you guys are talking about. So
Wes over here playing it coy. He's like, I make one little comment, one joke, and then the whole video is him but Josh and Max though, man, they were just
he's going back and just
I had the one joke about my wife being upset because I don't look at her the way you guys look at each other. And then
it's funny.
It was a follow-up joke to hammer the point home where you were finishing each other's sentences and eating each other food.
Feeding each other, yeah.
And in all fairness, we were at that end of the table. We were just sharing food with one another.
Exactly.
So
no, everybody was sharing food because everything was so damn good.
It was good.
I mean, Wes, you and I could be accused of being a gay couple because you were like, you got to have some of this charcuterie. And I was like, you're right, I do. Because everything.
Let's go shopping for antiques after this.
That's right.
I don't know, man. I was wearing Crocs with fucking socks. I don't think anybody would ever think I was gay.
I don't know. I've seen some gay dudes.
Nobody with fashion sense would ever dress like that.
Not every gay guy is a fashion plate. There's some pretty slobby gay guys.
Stereotyping. I'm sorry. What are you talking about, Josh? You had the designer jeans on and all that stuff. I saw. I noticed.
Do they even make Jordache anymore?
Oh man, Jordache does need to make a fucking comeback. Odin 87. Ironheart is further proof that Marvel and Disney have lost their moral compass long ago. They can no longer tell right from wrong.
No. Yeah, well, they blatantly have Riri committing crimes, acknowledging that they're crimes, but then refusing to acknowledge that she's a criminal. And then you have the actual villain of the series that's like, you are committing these crimes. And she's like, I know. And then he's like, so you're a
It's none of your business.
Yeah. But I'm like, oh God.
She's just trying to she just finna build something iconic, Josh. I don't
What
know
was
if I
she
used
just
that right.
stealing some stuff to fill out the armor?
No, she's working with an actual crime ring. Like the bad guys, she gets hired to work with the bad guys. But
The
she's
most
on
diverse-
trailer, wasn't? I was like, that's kind of strange.
The most
am I gonna
diverse,
get paid?
stunning, and brave. Yeah, most diverse, stunning, and brave group of criminals you've ever seen. They checked every box.
The best way I can describe this is, when you're talking to someone that is clearly stupid, but they think they're the smartest person in the room and they're the loudest voice.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter.
I
get a
talk to
group
Doc
of
every
those-
day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I'm not saying Jasmine Crockett, but sure. Get a group of those people to write this series, and that's what Ironheart is.
Oh my goodness. What do you mean those people? You
The people that think they're smart and they're stupid. Those people.
I wish they'd gotten the guy that wrote that Miles Morales as Thor book to write this show. That would have been great.
That's what this feels like, though, Aaron. It really does. And the funny thing is, like, we're not even being racist, because the people who wrote, directed, produced, it's all Black women. And yet it feels like if a racist were to make a parody of
Perpetuated every
Black
bad
culture,
stereotype you can imagine.
Yes. Yeah.
that's what this show would be. And it's mind-boggling that people are still like, this is the representation we want, or like, oh, this represents Black culture so well. And I'm just like, guys, this is bottom of the barrel stuff. How are you accepting this? It's the bigotry, or the soft bigotry of low expectations. It's so bad.
There's a Whitest Kids You Know sketch, Max, where it's this guy that's pitching TV shows to the network. And one of the TV shows is Black Doctor. And it has a theme song that goes, he was riding his bike and then the lightning strikes. Now he thinks real fast and he's good at math. Black Doctor. And it cuts back to the executive, and the executive just sitting there like stone-faced. And he goes, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Where did he get the bike? And the guy pitching the show goes, he stole it. And the guy's like, the executive's like, yeah, no. This show feels like the executive went, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no. It's like every perpetuated stereotype you can think of is in the show, and they celebrate it. And like, because Josh, I think you were alluding to the fact that, like, oh, she's part of this crime syndicate. She's part of this ring of criminals that, steal from the rich and give to the poor type of thing. But they're just giving themselves more money, which is making them more rich. So then they're the ones who are now that. And so it's just like, and it's not even that Riri is apprehensive while she's doing these things and being like, man, I don't know if I should be doing this, or maybe taking the money.
She's in the dark and she doesn't realize exactly what she's doing.
No, she's got a chip on her shoulder. She knows what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's still like, well, I deserve this money. So you're like, yeah, you're a fucking villain.
And she doesn't even take the money and go, you know what, at least I can do something altruistic, and I'm going to go give this back to my family or back to the community that I grew up in, and to raise my like my fellow community and their education or in their blah, blah, blah. Nope. She just takes it for herself and starts like throwing it around the room. And it's like, you can't even comprehend the lack of morality and virtue and values that these people hold to write.
If you wanted to do that, man, you could have just done like a Robin Hood thing where you said, and I don't mean like Director X's Robin Hood, Robin Hood. I don't mean that shit. But I just mean like you could have done a Robin Hood thing where it's like you could have had the bad guy be somebody who's got like a bunch of companies, and those companies are like, draining the actual community that she's a part of. And so it's like she's stealing from them, but giving back to the community. You could have done something like that to kind of like justify what she's doing. But there's, from what I've seen, and like I said, I haven't watched the show, but I've certainly watched enough things about it and read enough things about it. It doesn't seem like there's any of that there. It just seems like she's straight up, I'm owed this because some nebulous like society thing. And by the way, getting a bunch of Black women to write a Black female character show, that's fine, but it's a superhero show. So what you've done is you've spent $200 million, I think is what they're saying the show cost. You've spent that on, what is the percentage of the Black population in America? And granted, I know that these shows are worldwide.
15%.
Okay, so 13%, and now you half that women make up half of that. And so you've spent $200 million on a
7%.
show that is appealing to that small of a niche audience. And among that let's say 7%, 8%, we'll go high, 8%. Among that 8%, you now have to ask yourself, how many of those are superhero show fans?
Right.
Yeah. I think they're trying to garner the liberal white woman audience, because that is they have a much greater percentage of white liberal wine aunts that are probably going to watch this thing.
Well, the Mary Sue loved it, Max.
The executive
which is the most quintessentially white liberal women.
Yeah, that tracks.
Of which there are 5.
Galb says, remember that movie Get Out? I think the writers, and especially Kevin Feige, are related to that family because, come on, how can he see black people this way?
That was Jordan Peele.
And wasn't that kind of his commentary on how like white liberals like treat him in Hollywood?
Yes.
And and here they just did the meme, as they say.
I have seen far too many AI videos recently. Especially the black women in Ultimas.
Oh,
you saw the Ultimas.
Is that a thing?
So funny. Yeah.
It is.
It like the new lesbians and Subarus?
Yeah, it's the lesbians and Subarus.
Oh man.
I am blissfully unaware of all of this. What do you guys? Is this like a thing that goes on the Facebooks or something?
No, it's
the Twitters and
it's
TikToks.
on the Twitters and the TikToks.
Oh, I don't do the TikToks.
With the hey, make me a talking to AI and make me a video of this.
The reason that you're not on TikTok, Wes, is because you were a heterosexual man. It's for women and young girls. But as an older man, like it'll come to you a couple weeks late in the form of Instagram Shorts if you're on Instagram. So that's
I'm not on Instagram either. My wife controls the Instagram for the family.
And she never holds up the phone and goes, "Look at this! Look at all these black ladies buying Ultimas. Should we get an Ultima?"
I don't think she would even get the joke.
I don't think she would think. I didn't present it as her getting the joke. Just going like, "Oh, these Ultimas are nice."
Yeah, I didn't say that. So weird stuff. Steve McDakel says John Walker did nothing wrong. He's got a point. I remember reviewing that with Skip and Tosh and Aaron when it was going on. It was like, I think I'm not supposed to like John Walker, but like it's kind of weird. He feels pretty justified here. He probably shouldn't have decapitated the person, but they had just killed his sidekick, and we're making fun of the situation.
Yeah, I was like, faster, John Walker, kill.
Yeah, John Walker was absolutely justified.
Didn't the man also win like 2 or 3 medals of honor or something like that? Like
Purple Hearts, or he had a fine collection of medals that he had.
You don't get that in the military service for being selfish and killing the wrong people. No, you do that for serving your country in some of the most honorable ways and noble ways possible by self-sacrifice. The show clearly writes him as a hero, and that they want us, but the soundtrack tells us that he's a villain. I don't know.
They didn't even like build it to the and it's not even, but like it's not even done as well as in the comics, where clearly it's like they took a guy who was kind of on the edge and they put this pressure of Captain America on him, and he broke under the weight of it, especially once his parents were killed. But he still had an inciting incident that broke him. And they try to do that in the show, but they didn't do any of the legwork to make it justified. And he just ends up being a hero. And you end up looking at him going like, yeah, good, cut that terrorist head off. The whole show tries to make you sympathize with people that are killing innocent people for a political agenda. Yeah. And, people that are not part of this, and it presents them as petty and small and like not able to comprehend why, when all of a sudden half the world comes back, things are going to be in turmoil, and it kind of glosses over all of that to try to make a very ham-fisted point. And that's kind of the problem with all of these Marvel shows, with Lilo and Stitch, where it's like you have your conclusion that doesn't make any sense, and you're trying to write to it, but none of the writers are competent enough to build up to selling that point.
Right.
Jag on Choose said, does it feel like the Ultimate Universe is coming to an end, or is it just Jonathan Hickman moving on You're gonna have a good thing at Marvel. So I'm not really sure. So the co-writer or the co-scripter of Ultimate X-Men came out and said they were going to be ending at issue 24 with Peach Momoko, and that the entire Ultimate Universe was ending. But then Peach Momoko's husband Yo came out and said that's not true. We don't know what's happening with the Ultimate Universe. Only probably Jonathan Hickman knows. So you can't imagine he was just completely speaking that out of turn, right? There had to be something to what he was saying.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that they're going to reboot it after 24 issues.
can't wait for all new,
All
different
different.
Ultimate.
all new
Ultimate now.
Yeah, it's gonna eventually we'll get to all new, all different Ultimate now Marvel.
Yeah.
Did you see we're getting all new Spider-Gwen the Ghost Spider by Stephanie Phillips, following up her Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider series?
Great.
This keeps getting worse.
It's
They just keep adding more to the title.
She has the power of a cosmic cube. She is overpowered and she's back from the dead.
No, but it's just a continuation of the story.
Yeah.
But now she's getting a new band, presumably not called the Mary Janes together, I guess. But
What are they going to be called now?
I think it's gonna reboot, but I don't know if Jonathan Hickman's gonna stick around. But we shall see. Obviously, the maker is gonna be here in like what? 3 months? It's been 6 months for 2 years, Doc. I don't know what's going on.
Well, no. It's issue 18 of Ultimate Spider-Man came out this week, and he was going to be back at what 24 months?
Issue 24.
No, he said he'll be back in 12 months at the very beginning of Ultimate Spider-Man, right, Sully?
I think so. How did that get extended?
They keep pushing
2
it
years?
back. It's weird.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the whole running in real time bit.
I don't think it's
doing
more
with
hurtful
these.
than
Yeah, it's stupid.
Kalichioki says, don't underestimate the low-hanging fruit crypto.
What? I love dogs. I think the dog is going to bring the normies. The dog brought me in, and then I kind of put my hands up. You're taking out the American way. What, you frigging commies? But still.
I agree with Kalichi. It's a smart move from a narrative standpoint, and I talked about this last night. If you ever want to get audiences to hate a character, have them do something to a baby, or an animal, and then you're gonna be like, "Oh, F that guy." So,
well, it depends. Is the baby in a restaurant crying?
Or is the
And
baby
the parents
or
are
an
standing
airplane.
outside. Or an airplane? Yeah,
No,
or a microwave?
You can
just a nice,
yeah,
cute
the Flash
little
was putting babies in microwaves.
Microwaves, I
remember?
know.
And
Protected
and
from
I was just
infection.
That's
I
why
was
we
like-
all hated that movie.
I was like, is this part of the film or is this just what Ezra Miller does on a Saturday? Because either way, I can believe it.
only when he's in his blue dress with the little watermelon clip.
Oh, he's the Mad Goose Wizard, Josh.
Oh gosh. Wes is
Callum
like, I don't know what's
says she's a murderer. I'm starting to think, I got black privilege Wakanda.
yeah,
Did
Oh,
she
so
murder
she's already
anybody or
murdered
did she just
somebody?
allow people to die? Because I heard that she just allows people to die all around her.
she just allows people to die, but she makes the active choice not to save a guy. So, like, she's getting away from something
If you're a
that she
superhero,
knows.
that is the equivalent of murder.
Yeah, I mean,
Look,
pretty much.
Kill you.
It is.
But I don't have to save
Are
you.
they trying to make her into Spider-Man?
I don't
with-
know.
No, they're trying to make her into Doctor Strange. They're
They're
giving her
trying to make her
magic.
into Iron Man.
Oh, they're
Oh.
giving her magic now too.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
she's gonna have magic. Like there's already been screenshots out there of her with like the magic stuff around her, and it's like, just when you don't have a character, just tack on more powers, right?
Yeah.
There's no way she's going to
Or
have
gay.
magic like Doctor Strange.
The images
100
are out there.
Yeah. That's like the whole subplot in all of this. It's supposed to be like a magic versus science thing, but you can tell they're setting up like the way she's going to get her suit working because she can't create an arc reactor is she's going to use magic.
She can't create an arc reactor, but Tony Stark was able to build it in a cave with a box of scraps.
Yep.
And she's
While
better
he
than
was
Tony
dying.
Stark. Remember, even Robert Downey Jr. said Iron Man loves Ironheart. How do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? guys?"
I can't do that. I can't pose it that way.
Well, so he was trying to do it. He didn't know how to do it because it's like they just made him go in on the day, and they're like, "Hey, just pretend to make a phone call to this chick, and we'll cut it all together."
And Callum says, thank you, Aaron, for bringing that Miles Thor up. And these women writers who clearly have self-loathing issues.
I don't think it's self-loathing. I think it is an abundance of narcissism and self-importance.
Arrogance.
Maybe. And then he says, I've seen 28 Years Later, and it's not the movie you think it is or advertised as. The most memorable thing is an infected alpha with a massive dong. That
Yeah, I
feels
heard
like
that
it'd be
there's
memorable, Josh. You know
I
what
heard
mean?
there's a lot of dong.
Yeah, I have not seen it, but
What?
everyone
You're
that
the
I've
movie
talked to-
fucking correspondent. What are you doing?
No, I know. I've been insanely busy. Everyone that I've talked to that has seen it has been really disappointed. So,
In the amount of dong, or they wanted more dong?
I think it just depends on the person as far as the dog is considered.
Oh.
The movie itself. Yeah.
It was
The
poorly
zombie dong.
utilized dong.
The zombie dong, it rises from the dead.
Wow.
Oh God.
Waka waka.
So I love 28 Days Later. In fact, I think it
Same.
might be my favorite horror film of all time. But I think
Wow.
28 Weeks Later sucked. So I wasn't all that interested in 28 Years Later, even though Danny Boyle was coming back.
I didn't mind 28 weeks. I didn't think it was awful, but it definitely was not 28 days later. And then we'll see what this 28 years later is.
Well, hopefully Callum was watching in 3D and got more of that dong than he could ever hope for. You know what I
Callum,
mean?
let us know. Was it IMAX
IMAX
more
3D
impressive?
dong?
More impressive or less impressive than Dr. Manhattan?
Was he circumcised? we really want to know.
Nerd says, what is each of your favorite comic book video game? I'm going to go with the classic TMT side-scrolling arcade game. Love that one.
I like the Sega Genesis X-Men game from 92, where you saying kind of it's almost the same thing, but it's like the side scroller. That was really fun. I spent hours and hours on that. I mean,
Well,
Maximum Carnage was good too.
Die. Maximum
Josh,
Carnage
what's
was
your
not good.
favorite?
It was just cool to see those characters.
Yeah. If we're going with the nostalgia, I would.
No, favorite video game of all time, comic book based.
Yeah, no, it's honestly a tie. So that 90s X-Men side scroller that you'd always play at the arcades, like anytime I see it, like I go into TISM mode, and Max can attest to this. Like I am locked in until I beat the game. But then the Batman Arkham games are just freaking.
I was like, why is he going Arkham here? Arkham,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that,
potentially
for me,
the
that
greatest series of games ever.
Yeah.
Arkham
you
Origins is radically underrated.
Doc, you going X-Men?
I gotta go with the original X-Men. It's either that or Marvel versus Capcom 2.
That's a good game. Yeah, I love the I love the design.
I love fighter games,
Mhm.
and Marvel versus Capcom 2 had the best overall character library out of any of the Marvel, even the Marvel superheroes fighter. What was it? Marvel superheroes versus Street
Well, there's
Fighter?
Marvel superheroes. There's Marvel superheroes versus Street Fighter. There's Street X-Men versus Street Fighter. They did several. Like they kept pumping them out because they were all successful.
Yeah, but I think
Marvel
versus
Capcom 2.
Marvel Capcom 2 is just perfect game.
And you know what's great too? It's a Marvel Ultimate Alliance and X-Men.
You're stealing MVP's picks, Sully. What are you doing?
Sorry.
Wait, you mean from Facebook solely?
No, what Facebook? I'm not on the book. I'm sorry.
Okay, never mind. It was from back. It was from like 10, 15 years ago.
No, I know the one you're thinking of, Josh. But no, Ultimate Alliance was on the consoles, and it was it started out with like X-Men, and then it went on to like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and it had some great cutscenes. Like there's some great Doctor Doom stuff in there. Oh, good stuff.
All right, MVP, what's your favorite comic book video game?
I'm gonna kind of upset everyone, but I really didn't play a ton of video games like at all in my youth.
Lame.
In my youth, but if I did, I would say that Marvel v Capcom is excellent. And to add what Doc was saying, not only is the library of characters just a cavalcade of like different great picks to choose from, but the designs, the character designs, particularly Wolverine's Berserker Barrage, and he's all hunched over and he looks like a Sam Keith character. Let's go. That's my type of character design. Cyclops looks great. Thor looks like he's just ripped out of the Walt Simonson run.
Looks fucking amazing. Hulk.
Oh yeah.
The Sentinel.
I want that Sentinel so bad.
Sparrow, what's your favorite?
That's a tough one for me because I celebrate the whole catalog. I love all that stuff, all the side scroller beat 'em ups. I love that Konami X-Men game. I'm a big fan of the Turtles in Time game. And those side scrollers, the Marvel Capcom games, Ultimate Alliance. I mean, I love all the Punisher beat 'em up. I mean, I love all that stuff. I'm going to go with a more recent choice because I think distilled perfection of all of those side scrolling beat 'em ups right now is TMNT Shredder's Revenge. And if you liked that original Turtles game, Wes, you need to download that onto whatever system you can and play that because it is amazing. And we're getting a Marvel game, another Marvel side-scrolling beat 'em up from that same company. So I'm super.
You got it on PS3.
Mm-hmm. Well, no PS3. No, I think you're a little too far back.
Yeah, that's as far as I'm going.
You don't have a Switch.
My son has a Switch, but he doesn't let me borrow it.
Well, you gotta, sometimes he's asleep.
Dad tax. Dad tax.
Sometimes you gotta give the kid a little ice cube made out of bourbon to get him to get sleepy so dad can play with the Switch.
This ain't the 80s, fucking Aaron, okay?
That's how I was raised. I know that's how you were raised. It's good enough for my parents. And look how I
says it's black girl magic. That's what's going to create the thing. And then he says he didn't pay to go see 28 years later, he pirated it. Oh, that's not nice.
Hard. I don't know. I used to be more stern about that, and now I'm like, you know what? Until they give you something worth paying for. I mean, I go to the theater and I pay for a movie that I think is worthy, and then go see whatever the movie is that I know is going to suck. So when Wes tells me I have to go see Fantastic Four so we can review it on the channel, I'm paying for a different movie.
Smart.
Very nice. Let's get into some comic book stuff. I talked recently about the Marvel cancel culture that they've got going on. Not so much canceling creators or fans or anything like that, but just canceling everything. And it feels like 10 is the new 50. They consider 10 a successful run at this point, but we've had Iron Man, X Factor, X-Force, Psylocke, West Coast Avengers, New Champions, Werewolf by Night, Spider-Boy, Spectacular Spider-Man, Deadpool, Weapon, X-Men, Daredevil, Magic. I believe Captain America also canceled thus far this year. There's rumors that perhaps the Ultimate Universe will be canceled, but I don't want to count that one quite yet. So they're at over like 14 cancellations already this early in the year, Doc. The sales aren't good. They're kind of dwindling down. DC's making up the gap. And I think this cancellation epidemic, always trying to get back to this #1 issue, is absolutely devastating fan interest.
Well, they hit the point of no return a number of years ago. They've been on this. Look, it was the law of diminishing returns. And they started on this cycle. They could see what was happening. It was whatever your new normal, like where obviously a new a #1 issue is going to sell really well. And then they started slapping on a million variants. And then they started slapping on variants onto issues 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, because each time when it would settle to whatever its actual number is, that's going to be, it's about normal. Because, for a long time, ASM sold 80,000 month in, month out. You get the occasional pop here or there. You get the occasional little drop here or there if people felt like a story was dragging and they just took a couple issues off. But for the most part, it stayed pretty stable. Where after they got into this relaunch fever, the new stable number was always lower than the previous volume stable number. And if you start looking back far enough, the #1s with all the variants are now lower than the stable number from 4 or 5 volumes ago, because they started on this path and you can't, they knew that it was new #1 would do well, and it works like the first time. But once you start relying on it, once you start doing it more and more, and with more and more titles, its effect loses, it's a diminished return. But the problem is then you start putting yourself in a vicious circle going down. and you're just basically spinning towards the drain, because now you need to do basically all those cheap pops type marketing just to get to where your old stable number was. So literally, if you didn't fuck with it at all, you'd be doing better than all of the stuff that you've done to fuck with it. You got your cheap pops, but at the expense of the long term. But they're now at a point where it's the regular numbers month to month are not sustainable numbers. You cannot have, what in the blue hell is that, Aaron? Do you have a fucking puppet?
What? A ventriloquist dummy. I was telling Max and Josh and Drew the other day, I was like, oh my God, I was so happy to have this thing.
Mr. Marbles.
I love it. Honestly, I think that is better pops than a relaunch.
Yeah. I just like that he's slowly kind of.
I was doing that in traffic yesterday. I was sitting in the passenger seat of Marie's car, and I was leaning back far enough to where like the divider is, to where you couldn't see me. And just when people would pull up next to the car, I would just slowly make the dummy rise up and start. His name is Maligno, and he watches you sleep.
It's not Professor Pickles.
Where'd you find him?
Yeah, I mean that's probably gonna get more pops than relaunching Amazing Spider-Man again.
Yeah. So it was actually Marie's mom's before she passed away. Nobody has any idea why she had it. She just had it in this little collection of dolls that was and so like one Christmas I was over there and I saw it and I was immediately like, well, I'm definitely playing with that thing. And so I came out and I sat it on my lap and I named it Maligno, and I was making it say really disturbing things, and her mom was dying. Like she was like getting tears in her eyes. She was crying. She was so entertained by how weird it was. And so that was like kind of like it was like a really good memory of Marie's mom for me. So recently they were kind of cleaning up because Marie's dad's getting older, and they're kind of like doing some stuff in the house to make, clean it out. And it was gifted to me as like a special item that was kind of like a shared moment between her mom and I. So I've always loved that weird dummy, and the memories that are attached to it are priceless. So I'm super glad to have it. Plus, I like weird ventriloquist dummies, man. I love that movie Dead Silence with Billy, and I like the Saw puppet. I don't know, I'm weird like that.
I'm looking.
It's not a good segue.
Wes is gonna come back and be like, "What the hell happened?"
Look, guys, what are you doing?
A dummy spoke.
I was still listening. What were you doing? I think part of the problem too is like, it's like deaths in comics now. Like, we're canceling these books. Oh no, but don't worry, the new number 1's coming out next month. It's like, oh well, that guy's fuck off. Like, in Doc's right, it's been a case of diminishing returns. Purchase done videos looking at the actual data from this back when we used to actually get data, and it decreases. But then you also get this situation in comic shops where it's kind of becoming impossible for comic shops, because people are coming in because they heard about a character because of the movie or whatever, and they're like, oh, do you have the Captain Marvel run? Which one? The one written by Kelly Sue DeConnick. Okay, which one? And like, it's not a good thing. It doesn't work. And then on the other end of the spectrum, because I think they think, oh, we have to do this to reinvigorate interest or conversation or whatever. And then I think you've got the Energon universe over here with Transformers proving the exact opposite. They're like, new creative team, issue 25, and everyone's talking about it. So
absolutely, and DC's doing the same thing too. They just changed out the writer on Nightwing. They didn't revert it back to a number 1. They changed out the writer on Batman and Robin, Green Arrow. They just went with the numbering.
I think what's interesting too here is that we're seeing not only fans, but the industry leaders, like the individuals who work at Marvel and DC, just kind of have this attitude of like apathy where they're saying, yeah, that's just how the industry works. And it's like, no, it's not. How are we the ones who are telling you, no, this isn't how it works? Like even there's a comment on this Reddit thread where it says Marvel is canceling too many books too quickly these days, and it has the whole list. You know, Iron Man, X Factor, X Force, Psylocke, West Coast Avengers. They're like 10 to 15 more. And one of the top comments is Marvel has been like this for the last 10 years. The fact that most of these books are ending at 10 and not 5 is actually an improvement. And I'm like, oh my God. I think what Aaron, you said Reddit is like the cesspool of something, or Reddit.
Yeah, it's where the cockroaches run when you turn the light on.
Yeah, thank you. And so now we have
cesspool. Yeah.
Yeah. And so now we have fans and industry creators, industry professionals who are saying, yeah, it's actually it's good that we're canceling this and that we're gonna re-up with a new number one. That's just how the industry works. That's how you keep the money coming in. And it's like, well, like Josh said, that's the exact opposite from what Skybound and Titan are doing. They have a complete full run of Jim Zub or Daniel Warren Johnson just absolutely crushing it and getting better as the series is going on. It's quite an anomaly. So yeah, I just
coming on to Transformers 25. Like we didn't start with a new number one with Kirkman and Dan Mora. We picked up at number 25.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with Marvel. I don't think Marvel can reverse course at this point. They're too far down that rabbit hole. Now, I think that a lot of other publishers are seeing it, and they're just, for once, I mean, in the most copycat of copycat industries, they're not following Marvel down the wrong path. Like they're seeing that it's the wrong, historically, they've seen them go down the wrong path and then say, yeah, it's just because they weren't allowed to do enough of that yet. And let's do that too. We can do it right. This is the one where they're like, oh no, this does not work. And so they don't.
Dynamite's doing it with Space Ghost.
Well, Dynamite's
a really great series. I think it's maybe the best series in the entire industry. And after 12 issues, they're going to reboot it to a number one issue with the exact same creative team.
And they'll see a diminishment on that. And then after the second relaunch, it will no longer have sustainable sales, and Space Ghost will go away again for another decade until somebody else does another Space Ghost idea, because that's what happens when it's niche product like Space Ghost.
It's funny. I was talking to Joe Corallo not too long ago, and I was telling Joe, I'm feeling like I'm in a Cap mood. You know, I really want to get into some more Cap stories, and Aaron Sparrow had helped me a little bit too, as well in Dallas, where we were talking about the best Cap stories to look at. And so I'm like, where should I start? What are some creators that you'd recommend? And Joe was like, check out the Roger Stern, John Byrne run. Aaron was saying like, check out the Grunwald Streets of Poison stuff. And I'm like, cool. So where's the number one? And they're like, oh no, it's like issue 325 or something, or like Roger Stern is in the 247, and you're just like, wait, that's amazing. Like there's such a legacy of this in like the volume one of Captain America has had this span of long lasting books that have lasted like these like decades of time. And so it's not, which number one do I have to go check out and find? It's like, no, this is part of the greater, volume of his library. So it is kind of cool to go back and find these issues and be like, man, this is just what they did. They would have a new creative team, but still keep the ongoing series going. So I think even as a comic book fan, you have to calibrate your mind to say, another number one? Why is it not just part of the regular series? But yeah,
it's just easy to walk away. It's like, I don't care. You're doing another number one. Okay, good. You gave me a jumping off point. I'm out.
Yeah. Not only that, but there was Cap, Iron Man, Thor. So they were the ones that really got, Incredible Hulk did too, but they all kind of got around the Heroes Reborn time. They got the relaunches. and they were the first ones at Marvel to get the relaunches. Captain America had been, all, and Avengers. But and the thing that happened was, you noticed after that relaunch, and they should have learned this lesson 30 years ago. It never had the same stability or longevity. It wasn't until because you had the Heroes Reborn relaunch for Captain America, and then and previous to that, you had the Ron Garney, Mark Waid 12-issue series, and then Heroes Reborn, and then there was another one and another one and another one. And it wasn't until Brubaker came on and actually got something going did they not relaunch that book for a long time. And it held, and it was stable. And now Iron Man has never had that. Not since they canceled the original Iron Man run. It has not had a stable run since. Because even like around the same time that they launched Captain America, that's when they did the Extremis arc with Warren Ellis, but he only stuck around for 6 issues. And then it was more rotating teams. The book was never able to be stable after that. Once you introduce relaunches, you're introducing the kind of a flavor of instability to the titles, and then people don't get attached. They don't stick around. If they miss an issue, oh well. If they miss 3 issues, well, you know what? We're already at issue 9, and I missed 3 issues in the middle there. It'll relaunch in another 2 months, and then I won't have to go and find those issues. It's easier to just wait. When you didn't relaunch, you had everybody knew you missed 3 issues. Fuck you. Go find the back. Go dig through the back issue bin, because we're not relaunching. We're not going. Even if we go in a different direction, you're still having a hole in your collection.
A lot of fans are trade waiting to your point, Doc. I'll just wait till the next number 1, or I'll wait till they come out the trade. And that's, sinking floppy sales too, because if they're not going to buy the floppies, they're just going to buy the trades. And it's like, yeah, all right.
And well, real quick, Josh, before, as Wes, you covered this a couple weeks ago, the trade waiters, they're not helping either, because Marvel doesn't have anything in the top 750.
Yeah,
it's true.
I mean, I think the Marvel's biggest issue is just their quality sucks right now. But yeah, when you're going 5 issues, 10 issues max with these books, and then relaunching with a new direction, you're telling your audience that you're not invested in these characters or these titles. So why should they get invested? They're not going to.
Right. 100%.
So at least if you have an ongoing series, even if you're changing things up throughout it, you're giving the impression that, like, hey, this is worth investing in.
You're dedicated to it because we're dedicated to it.
Correct.
And just look at the difference of the way like a person reacts, where they announced the Weapon X-Men as an ongoing, it ends up becoming a 5-issue miniseries. Iron Man's an ongoing, ends up becoming a 10-issue miniseries. Compare that to Poison Ivy over at DC Comics that they announced as a 12-issue maxi series, and it did well enough that then they retroactively said, no, this is going to be an ongoing. Think about the way that people would react to that differently, Sully, where, oh my goodness, I like this, and it's going to keep going, rather than, wait, I thought this was an ongoing. What do you mean it's only 10 issues? And I think they would be better off announcing everything as 10 issues and then continuing it, rather than retroactively canceling everything at 10.
Like Green Arrow. I mean, that was everyone's like, whoa, look, Joshua Williamson, he got an ongoing out of this. He was so good at Green Arrow that they gave it a chance.
Absolute Martian Manhunter was the same thing. Yes.
I don't know. I read 80 Marvel floppies this month. 80. And how many of them?
All of them
were the what?
That's like all of them.
Pretty much. And they're just, they're digital copies. They're review copies I'm blessed to get. And I go back and I will buy anything that's good. Seriously, anything that, strikes my fancy, I think is great. like specifically like this week's Spider-Man and Wolverine #2 was amazing. You know what I mean?
Wasn't it?
Kari Andrews' art, those fight scenes, those poses, those panels, even the Guggenheim story is pretty darn good. I think the art elevates that. But just because there's a real gem, there's a gem here and there. You got Incredible Hulk by Philip Kennedy Johnson and Nick Klein, and then Weapon X-Men. You have, just because there are very few good titles on Marvel doesn't mean that comics are magically good. Like in whole, I mean, most of these titles deserve to be canceled because, like, gee, you're given this huge opportunity to write and to make superhero stories on the big two, and this is what you're giving us. You know, crappy art, you know, the crappy storytelling, and this is what you do with your opportunity. And it's like most of these books do deserve to fail, you know. And I love comics. And I love Marvel comics and DC comics. I love going to my local comic book shop every Wednesday. I don't want the industry to be harmed. But seriously, I mean, the amount of bad books on the shelves of my LCS that they cannot move, it's astounding. It's a waste of paper. It's a waste of resource. You know,
I'm not defending any of these books saying they should have been canceled. But what I'm saying is stop announcing everything is ongoing. And then if it makes it to 10 issues, that's not a run.
Right. That is not a run.
Pathetic.
Yep.
Those
are two trade paperbacks.
I think the problem is they recognize, because they did this a couple of years ago, where they were announcing almost everything that was coming out, because they didn't have it greenlit for more than 5-6 issues. They were announcing everything as miniseries, and the entire comics critical, or the criticism, the critic sphere, the media, everything was talking about how Marvel's just a miniseries company now. They don't have any ongoing. So they tried to change the narrative by calling everything an ongoing. It's their way of astroturfing perception change about the company, but they're still doing exactly the same things. They're greenlighting something for 5 or 6 issues, calling it an ongoing, and then when it gets canceled, it gets retroactively turned into a miniseries.
But the inevitable conclusion is that in 3 years, we're lucky if books make it past 5 issues. And on Reddit, they're going, oh, that's just how Marvel been operating for 10 years. You can't expect them to go more than 5 issues on an ongoing series.
This is exactly what I've been talking about, I don't know, since about the first episode of the show. The inevitable outcome is 1 issue. Every issue is a #1. Every single one is a #1. All you're doing is raising the volume number.
And then, like, there isn't much commitment to this stuff. Jonathan Hickman just launched Imperial. It's supposed to be this groundbreaking. We're going to rejuvenate and recontextualize what the cosmic side of Marvel Comics is going to be. In an interview this week, he says, I'm doing the 4 issues and then I'm not doing cosmic stuff anymore. Then why the fuck did you do this big reset for the cosmic side of the universe if there was nowhere to go?
For the same reason he did Gods.
Yeah, I was going to say,
he obviously gave very few shits about X-Men because he outsourced 95% of it to, hacks, and then didn't do anything in the X-Men line once he, even on the book that he did stick around on. I mean, honestly, maybe he's finally recognizing that he wanted to do something with a section of the Marvel universe. He set it up. He's also accepting that maybe he's a bad talent evaluator and he doesn't want to get vetoed again, so he's not going to stick around.
But why sell it as this big reshaping of this corner of the universe if you're not going to go anywhere with it?
Because
you're basically
he likes
lying to people.
Because he likes world building. That's the only thing he wants to do.
Yeah. But don't you think it's weird, though? Yeah, I find it very, very frustrating.
Finding it frustrating and recognizing that the man is doing what he wants and getting paid for it because everybody finally gave up on his 3 worlds, 3 moons bullshit.
Still going.
Yeah, well, is anybody actually? I have not heard one word about it in 2 years.
I think
No one's talking about it.
Oh yeah, the only time we really talked about it was when they didn't send their books out.
Yeah,
and they were like a year.
No one is talking about it anywhere. So it obviously can't be.
I forgot all about it, dude. Yeah,
it's not a big deal.
DC's doing something.
Well, DC's doing something, and then they're shooting themselves in the dick by hiring a fucking crazy person.
It's one book. Apparently, it's an oversight.
They just gave Tom King Batman again.
It's a one shot. It's one.
I don't fucking care. They didn't look. This is a company that never learns its lesson, and it's demonstrating again not learning its fucking lesson.
Well, and they had the Jim Lee being laid on Batman again. What do you think about that one, Josh? Apparently, issue 163 of Batman is going to come out after issue 1 or 2.
Yeah, it's insane. Because how much of a head start did they get doing this?
9 months.
Hush. Yeah, I mean, honestly, am I surprised? No. Is it shitty? Yes. Do better.
But their Absolute line still do it very, very well. People still love Absolute Batman.
Yeah, Absolute Batman's in a 7th printing, issue 1, and a beautiful foil cover too. They just re-released all 3, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman with, like a triptych kind of connecting cover and foil. And of course, I was like, I want this.
Okay, Sully, I'm gonna give you a shit for a second. We can't praise Absolute Batman for being on a 7th printing when they've got their 2nd printing before their first printing ever hit shelves. Like this is just propaganda.
They're taking a cue for. I mean, look at what Kirkman's doing over on Skybound. I mean, Transformers #1, I think, has 14 printings, variant covers. It's just like that is. They're just a machine. They're not only printing money. They're just like they're doing a really good job with the variant cover scheme.
Yeah, no, I get that. What I'm saying is to get the news article, the headline of, oh, we're going to 2nd printing, they're purposely barely fulfilling what the order is. They're not having extra stock on hand, and they're actually printing their 2nd printing before the first printing ever gets to stores to even sell out. So that's the new strategy. Like
that's the old Boom strategy. Boom was doing that 15 years ago when I was there.
Marvel was doing that 20 years ago. They when they went to the print to order, and then 2 weeks later they'd have the what were they called? They weren't called variants, and they weren't called 2nd printings. They called them something else. It was around the time of New Avengers and Astonishing X-Men. But I don't remember what they called them. It was the ones with like the half sketch covers. Yeah.
So, Sully, you just brought up the Miller Time episode this week with the retailers.
Great show. I mean, I'm just telling everyone out there in TV land, you want some really good comic book content as well? Check out Mark Miller's Miller Time.
But what were the retailers saying?
Oh,
we're seeing gains this year, and it's all in the back of DC.
Yeah, the Absolute, and not just Absolute, but DC's compact version is like really rising the tide for everyone else to ride upon. And
did they say new people are coming in to look for those things? Are they seeing new customers, or is it just the existing customer base?
They're the existing customers. Yeah, they're saying it's basically, from white middle-aged men who are, keeping their stores open in a way. And but it was a really good conversation. It told everyone, tune into that. Seriously. It's eye-opening.
There's anecdotal evidence that the Absolute Batman and the Absolute Comics are bringing in some new readers. They're specifically coming in for DC and not even thinking about Marvel. And I think they probably have shot themselves in the dick here, Doc.
Yeah. They're I don't know how Marvel moves forward. I think DC needs to just not make mistakes. Or the mistakes that they make be on a limited or very small scale, or on books that don't matter. that's the problem with the Jim Lee Batman, mistake,
Right.
is that it's on their biggest ongoing title.
Like, this is what does Perch call this? An unforced error?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, seriously,
is.
you had so much time to produce these stories and you couldn't even get that right.
He had a year to get 6 issues done. Technically, he had 17 months to get them done because he needed to, as long as he was finishing the last issue on by month 17 of starting, he was okay, and they would have stayed on schedule. But he's only they're only 3 issues in, and he's still working on the pencils for number 4. You're fucked. I mean, now, but
he should go into crowdfunding if he's going to have that pace.
Yeah. But no, this is a DC has the opportunity to continue their path. Marvel, yes, they really do, and seize the opportunities that are presented by themselves by their competition. I've long said that your competition can't fail you into success, but they can damn sure open the fucking door. And Marvel has been, unlocking the door, pulling it wide open. I think they've pretty much just taken it off the hinges at this point. Like, it's going to take them a lot of work to bar that door again, that they're nowhere even close to. All DC has to do is just not fuck up and not decide to trip over their own dick while walking through it.
It's not for them to do, Doc.
It really is. And they've demonstrated an inability to do this over the years. They've had opportunities in the past. I don't know if it's been this sustained of a failure on Marvel's part and this sustained of a DC success on DC's part. But they've done it before. They've fucked it up before. Maybe it was just out of urgency.
Let's hear from the people's. Nurse says, I forget who steals stories, but which comic video game should be adapted into a comic in a canonical run? And P.S. West, you can play that TMNT game on your PC.
Oh, and the upcoming Marvel one, I guess, is probably what he was saying there.
Very cool.
So there you go, Wes. There's no excuse not to be getting into some Shredder's Revenge.
Maybe I'll give it a shot. What's a comic book story that you think should be a video or a video game story that should be in a comic book, Aaron?
Let's do a new Maximum Carnage. Why the hell not? It'd be amazing.
I would think actually Marvel versus Capcom.
It's just a fighting game, Doc. There's no real story.
No, there is a story to they did a story in Infinite, and it wasn't good. Infinite was bad for a number of reasons, mostly because of Marvel being more protective of and more demanding on which characters got put into the game and who had to be kept out. So, for example, in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, you were not allowed any X-Men, you were not allowed any Fantastic Four, and so the poor guy had to actually come out, and he was doing it in like a hostage situation type of thing, whereas Tom Brevoort believes this in his big dumb heart. He came out and he said, well, I know people are upset that like Magneto's not in the game, but really, if you think about it, the characters are just functions. Well, Captain Marvel does everything that Magneto does as far as game function goes. And people are like, yeah, we don't like her. It's like, no, we actually care about the character. We care about, we want to play that character because we like that character. If they're great and, have great game function, that's, so much the better. Mwah, chef's kiss. But I want to play Magneto because I like Magneto. I don't care that Captain Marvel serves the same function in the game. I don't want to play as her. I don't like her. And, he had to kind of do that because he couldn't come out and say, Marvel won't let us use these characters and they're making the game suck. He can't do that. Whereas Tom Brevoort tried to do that with Rivals, where people are like, hey, we really like Cloak and Dagger. Hey, Jeff the Land Shark has got a big fan following now that's, outside of the comics. And he's like, well, there's not really any point in trying to capitalize on any of that because really it's just what their function in the game that people are into. Way to say that the company you work for doesn't have characters that connect with people.
Federico de la Casa says, if 10 is successful, why not continue? Because it's not. Oh, I mean, that's the point. Tom Brevoort would be like, don't worry if that run you like continues. Don't worry if there's any longevity to these things that you're investing in. We'll just reboot it anyway. That's not a selling point.
Partially. Well, I think the thing is, if 10 is successful, why not continue? Because it's not successful.
Yeah.
And because they need the cheap pops of the relaunch, because the book's now selling, it's now losing money. Yeah. That's why they're canceling it.
We're not saying that Marvel and DC are losing money. We're just saying that they have to resort to more and more desperate schemes to keep money coming in. The money is shrinking, but it hasn't hit non-profitability.
Yes.
They wouldn't be, there would be some major shakeups the moment that they hit, a consecutive
or even
months of being in the red.
Yeah, really, really got close to approaching it.
And when that happens, that's when you'll see these things farmed out. That's when you'll see Disney take it and do like they do with their Disney comic characters, where they just say, we're shutting down Marvel as an entity. We're just going to have a brand manager, and we're going to license these characters and these books out to people.
HH at Sigma Comics. Shout out to the Thinking Critical team from the American Library Association Conference in Philly.
Oh, cool.
Support your favorite comic channel. Hit like and subscribe. Man, fucking HH goes everywhere.
Everywhere. He's global, man. You're worldwide. You're international.
He's a rambling man.
Dude, maybe you can hook up
in Philly, having one of those delicious Philly cheesesteaks with
he doesn't eat
with some provolone, some mushrooms, and green peppers on it.
HH eats seafood only. He doesn't eat chicken or beef. Because we have chef talk. He's like, we always talk about soup for some reason, for some strange reason. When I run into HH at any of these conventions,
I was trying to set you off there, Sully, describing not a Philly cheesesteak, and you didn't even correct me.
I'm sorry. I'm from Boston. We talk about chowder here.
Wow.
Philly cheesesteak.
You need to have Neon on the show if you want Philly cheesesteak.
Or S3 is like provolone. He's pretty upset
that's it's supposed to be cheese whiz. You know what I mean? That's it, right?
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to have all those fucking peppers on it either, dude. For money.
We have a steak. We have a local thing called the steak bomb, where you put peppers, onions, mushrooms, and you add pepperoni or salami in with the steak while it's on the griddle. My mouth's watering.
And did you make a shrimp cheesesteak, Sully?
The what?
Could you make a shrimp cheesesteak?
You can do anything you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you're saying he only eats fucking seafood. I'm trying to help out HH there.
Maybe.
I mean, nice seafood inclusive cheesesteak.
Maybe. That's a good idea.
I bet
HH, if you're in the chat, let us know. Would you want a shrimp cheesesteak?
Ooh. A nice shrimp po' boy.
Ooh.
Oh, that's delicious. Calb says, Aaron said it better. Marvel is run by tired, miserable old men. Wish they had a wife like MJ, and DC is run by slow bus people. Oh.
Sounds like something I'd say.
It does sound like something you'd say. DC's doing better. They got some hotness going on right now. Retailers are much happier with them than they are with Marvel. But
Marvel's
they need to change the guard. That's the only way to save this. Changing the guard.
Who's just thinking about shrimp po' boys and Philly cheesesteaks and sushi. That's CB's focus. Yeah, and Tom Brevoort, just wants to die.
Got to replace Buckley, CB, Brevoort, Lowe. They need a clean sweep of leadership.
Yep. American
Texan, is it better for Marvel to do the Miller way and just be open about volumes and their renumberings? Just release everything as miniseries to begin with. I think it would be better than what they're doing.
Yeah, I think your smaller, like French characters, that's what you should do. You should just package this as this is a special limited series.
Spider-Gwen, who are we kidding? It's 4 issues.
Yeah. But
I think that's a great name for a Stephanie Williams series. Spider-Gwen, who are we kidding? It's 4 issues.
Yeah. That would be more effective, because I just think the reaction when you find out that your miniseries becomes an ongoing is much different than your ongoing has been retroactively becoming a miniseries. You're setting people up to be very disappointed constantly. Federico de la Casa, Transformers is doing what Marvel and DC used to do 25 to 30 or 15 to 20 years ago. We finish a good run, 2 years as a minimum run, have a good team for the next one. I can't imagine a better case scenario than Robert Kirkman and Dan Moore taking over as the writer-artist on
Yes, please.
Transformers. In many ways, it's an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
A League of Comics.
Dan Moore is a better artist
hates
than
it.
Corey Corona. Robert Kirkman's a better writer than Dan Warren Johnson, probably, on his best day.
Go look at the comments section on the announcement at League of Comics Geeks.
Yeah.
There's a ton of people that hate it.
I think they described it as white bread and mayonnaise, and then put something like, "Why can't you get someone like Alice Cott?" And then I just laughed.
And Nick Klein, was the
Yeah.
the comment. Like, it's just like, look, not even Alice Cott's mom wants Alice Cott on Transformers.
So they're upset that Kirkman's doing Transformers. That makes no sense.
Kirkman and Mora. How, look, maybe Kirkman's not your cup of tea, but how can you be mad about Dan Mora, like the best current comic book artist in the industry, perhaps?
Kirkman's done things that Scott Snyder has never done in his life. He's gone almost 200 issues on a fucking comic book.
I'm not dissing Kirkman. I'm just saying, like, even if you're like, I don't really care for
crazy
stuff, how
Agreed.
can you be opposed to Transformers drawn by Dan Mora? How can you be opposed to anything drawn by Dan Mora?
No, I mean it's an enormous upgrade. That's one of the few upgrades that they could have done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm shocked that they were able to accomplish it. Personally, I think it's amazing.
I think that's probably the way that Kirkman was looking at it. Like, hey, what do we got to do to get hype for when?
I was just hoping the fall wouldn't be huge. I didn't realize we were going up.
Mm-hmm.
Even better.
Give me that mayonnaise white Wonder Bread. I'll take it.
Nerd says, Doc, wouldn't you say this is more an incestuous issue rather than a copycat industry because the big two keep trading talent with the same mindset? Oh my goodness. Doc is out.
Doc is in flavor.
Doc is out
right
choking
now.
down a heater.
But
We'll
Gideon
get back
is
to
here.
that one.
But Gideon's here. Gideon,
RDV, I go to my shop every Wednesday to make sure I get my books, but it's impossible to be a reader right now when no one is shipping the books out. There have been a lot of issues, especially with all the stuff with Diamond, with books not arriving. And a lot of times, it's your Codans or your Space Ghost, Flash Gordon, some of these smaller press books.
Yeah, it's the smaller press books. Yeah, I've noticed that.
But most of them are or have already moved on to Lunar or Penguin Random House, and hopefully this gets back in order. But that is definitely something that kills interest. Is people are talking about something that you can't even get because it never arrived.
Well, and Diamond is holding people's books hostage too. They've got a ton of inventory that they're saying is abandoned inventory, so we have the right to sell it out the back door. But it's not abandoned. A lot of these companies are saying, like, no, we'll come pick up our inventory. We want to pick up our inventory that you have. But Steve Geppi, always a thief. Just gonna stick to it.
But who was it? Rod Lamberti from Rodman Comics was saying, hey, I was ordering half my stock of Marvel through Diamond and half of it through Penguin Random House and hoping some of it showed up.
Yeah.
So it's not a good place to be, no doubt. Doc, are you back?
I am.
Nerd says, Doc, wouldn't you say this is more of an incestuous issue rather than a copycat industry because the big two keep trading talent with that same mindset?
Yes and no. There's not a lot of decision-making editorial that really regularly jumps between back and forth. Once you are at like an editor level, not like an associate or assistant editor, and since they're the ones that are kind of driving the direction of the company, they're the ones that are also hiring people. And their marketing people don't jump back and forth.
No, but I think Nerd has kind of a point here because when it's like, oh, wait, our X-Men line isn't working, they don't go, hey, let's go out and get somebody fresh that has a great new point of view that we can throw on the X-Men that's going to rejuvenate it. They're like, here, let's play some musical chairs and we'll let Brevoort screw the X-Men now, and then we'll let fucking Jordan White will go over and do some weird side books, and Will Moss will move over to the Avengers. But they're really just the same people screwing the same books over and over.
Yeah, but I'm looking at it from a company to company perspective. And they copy what the other company did. If it was incestuous, they'd be the editorial level, the marketing level would all be playing musical chairs between companies instead of just within their own company. I understand the argument, yes, and I think it's just more me just playing semantic games than anything else.
Federico says, "Is there another U.S. industry that killed itself?" Yes, I do believe the video rental industry killed itself.
Yeah,
The media
They
companies
must have had the opportunity to buy Netflix, and they didn't. Idiots.
not only that, but
they would have run it to the ground, Wes.
They kept the pricing unreasonable, and it just kept going up. Now, a lot of that had to do with the fact that the video rental industry had to pay. You and I go to
Fees.
back in the day, we'd go to fucking Suncoast Video and buy a movie on DVD, or we'd go to Best Buy and buy a movie, and it was $8, $10, but the copy that the video rental store bought was hundreds of dollars, because they had to pay licensing fees.
They're better copies.
Not really.
Much more times.
Look, I remember going to my comic book store because in the Diamond catalog, you could buy the original G.I. Joe animated series on VHS for $80.
Yeah.
And being like, I need to get this, but that's how much videos costs, before, as the market was starting out.
To Federico's point, another one that would be very similar to what comic books have done is like the trading cards. When I say like sports memorabilia, they absolutely destroyed themselves trying to create like false
chase.
Chase type of stuff, to where now they're having to cut up Babe Ruth like jerseys and throw pieces of jerseys and cards just to get people to buy them. So they destroyed themselves trying to create fake scarcity like the Franklin Mint.
Hollywood's doing it right now with both their agenda and their pivot to streaming, which everybody said is not going to work.
It killed the movie industry,
and the streaming industry killed itself by all the studios deciding they weren't happy with just getting a licensing fee from Netflix, and instead wanted to get the entire revenue from Netflix. So,
RDV, the only writer who's proven to be competent in writing a great Batman book, is Dan Waters. That is a very definitive statement, sir. I think you're talking about modern, because Frank Miller would have words with you. They should put him on Detective Comics. Batman Dark Patterns is my favorite book. So, Josh, you are the Batman guy. While I agree partially with what RDV is saying, because I think Batman Dark Patterns is actually really, really good. I think Batman and Robin is a little bit better. And I would say that Philip Kennedy Johnson has certainly proven himself more than capable.
They're both really, really good. Dark Patterns is kind of this darker, kind of more creepy, weird slant to these Batman stories. But they're both good. Even when Dan Waters did that, what was the Arkham in World's End or whatever that book was? That was creepy and fun. Didn't have Batman in it, it had Azrael. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. What Philip Kennedy Johnson is doing with Batman and Robin is a little more traditional in the storytelling. But both are excellent. Like, thank God though, because Chip Zdarsky's run was crap. Hush is not great. The long Halloween, last Halloween of Halloweens is not great.
You talking about Arkham City, The Order of the World?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That was a weird book.
It was a weird book, but it had some really creepy stuff in it. Like the whole 10-eyed man thing was fantastic. So,
but yeah, I think he's got a good feel for a certain type of Batman. I don't know that his weird, creepy thing is going to be the most appealing thing for a Batman or Detective Comics, but it certainly has its place.
Yep.
Is Tom Taylor still on tech?
Yeah,
I think so.
Okay.
That last issue was bad.
Really?
Yeah. It started out kind of like with a little bit of fire there for a minute, Josh, but it's kind of died.
It was okay. I went into it not having faith, unfortunately. So I was just waiting
for
the
did I, but you gotta call a spade if it's good, it's good.
Agreed. And I did.
It kind of just fell off.
Yeah.
But if you haven't checked out Dark Patterns, definitely give it a shot. I think Hayden Sherman is far better on that book than he is on Absolute Wonder Woman.
Oh, 100%.
And then Callum says there's a coming soon superhero game called Dispatch, Aaron Paul's in it. You should check out the trailer.
I don't know, Aaron Paul. He takes responsibility
For all my shit moments. I take responsibility.
That's the dude from Breaking Bad, right?
Bad.
Yeah. And actually from the Need for Speed movie, which I love.
Is that on Blockbuster Video?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
I love that movie. I don't know why. I just love that movie. And Michael Keaton's in it.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go. Callum, Max, have you seen that Warhammer short film from that show Secret Level?
Yes. So I actually did a what do you want to call it? Live reaction and review on my Warhammer channel. So if you guys check out Brother Maximus. Funny enough, I think my video is only about 15 minutes or so though. So it wasn't a true EFAP. Especially because Games Workshop is very particular. Actually, right now, a lot of the Warhammer community is kind of upset with Games Workshop, as they tend to be, because they have been copyright striking so many different channels that have Warhammer Tom or 40K Frank, or they'll have their name part of the Warhammer stuff, and they'll do YouTube videos and shorts and animations because they're fans and they want to engage with this stuff. And Games Workshop just rips their channel right off the platform, or they'll hit them with a cease and desist. And it's like, man, it's brutal. Manga's the same thing, you said?
Yeah.
Really?
You do manga reviews, do not show the pages.
No way.
Talk about how much you like the book.
This is like even like having it in your name. And I guess the idea is that they're like, well, it makes it look like you're an official representative of Games Workshop. But exactly. If you do, so Max, if it's all one word, Warhammer Frank, but what if it's War space Hammer Frank? Because they don't own the word War Hammer, the two words separately. They own them together with 40K at the end.
Totally. They haven't copyrighted the word Warhammer to be the official designated title of a host on a fucking YouTube channel. Like, those copyrights only go so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you just capitulate, and then you got to fight to, to prove, you're right. It's guilty until proven innocent on YouTube.
It is weird.
But all that being said, Callum, thanks for the super chat. And if you guys want to check out my review of that episode and my reaction of it, it's on Brother Maximus or Brother Maximus 40K. So thank you.
Very nice. Nerd says the only way to fix all the number one issues is to properly use multiverses. Bring back the old numbers, make it a big event where all the reboots meet, and then pick up out of the popular versions and continue with the old number. So you want to go back to legacy numbers, huh?
Yeah. Me too.
Well, no. I don't think he necessarily means that. Basically, wherever the story stopped on the last
you want to go back in time to when it was good.
But then you also have, say X-Men. It ended with Uncanny X-Men ended with issue 544. Then they did 20 issues of volume 2. So whatever end point of 544, then the end point of 20, and then the end point of issue 36, which was the next volume. So, and you just do that, and then have whichever one is the most popular, and then you continue the numbering from that one. So it might be X-Men, Uncanny X-Men 21, if that's the most popular. It might be under Uncanny X-Men 545.
You know what? I would love to see DC give us a legacy number for JSA. I mean, because that goes back to 1940 in different shapes and forms. All-Star Squadron, and all that stuff. So, like, what would the legacy number for Justice Society be?
Well, you keep telling them that, and they're going to charge you $15 for JSA 69 or something. Elric, Wes, I'm begging you, spill on who you heard Donny Cates was working on for the Absolute Universe. Feels like Absolute Batman, Green Lantern was rushed. So that's my guess. So Green Lantern was definitely not rushed. Al Ewing had been working on that for actually quite a long time. I'm surprised it's as bad as it is, considering the amount of leadway he got. But what I was told was that Donny Cates was going to be working on an Absolute Deathstroke book. So I believe it's Deathstroke. That would be pretty cool, Josh. That would have been good.
I thought it would have been. I mean, I made the comment that would have been the most popular absolute book because I think it would have been if you got a good artist. Because we had a conversation, Max, Drew, and I talking about and Aaron, what comic artist would be a good fit, and I was like, man, just throw balls to the wall, bring Tony Daniel back, and put him on the book with Donny Cates. Why not? That would be a banger of a book.
And could you imagine DC would absolutely take advantage of this lead that they have, because Marvel is kind of shooting themselves. Well, Marvel is failing and is much weaker than DC right now, and DC needs to capitalize on that to really gain market share or market capture. And but they keep making all these big mistakes, as you guys have been talking about. But if they did release a Deathstroke, Ultimate Deathstroke, Absolute Deathstroke with Donnie on it, they would have just completely obliterated Marvel in the top 10 of everything. I think the sad part is that Donnie's been given chances, and the things that are required of him do not seem like they are out of this world, or things that are incomprehensible. They seem like very, very easy steps that anyone would probably make if they truly wanted to better themselves. And unfortunately, that's just not happening.
I know. Donnie and Stegman on an absolute Deathstroke book would have been very, very popular.
Yeah, I don't think Stegman will work with him though.
Well, yeah, I don't know that he can come over to DC at this point, but it's too bad. I don't know that book ever even comes out. I don't know if that was specifically something that they wanted to do or they only wanted to do with Donnie. But if it's only with him, I don't think you'll see it very soon at all. It doesn't sound like it, unfortunately.
No.
But that would have been cool. Would have thrown even a little bit more fuel on the fire for the DC Absolute Universe. Nerd says, that way the reboots matter through a meta story. There's a story reason for the reboots, like a crisis. This type of thing is what he's talking about.
Yeah, basically a Marvel crisis. And unfortunately, I don't think that works.
And Wraith X7 spoilers: film threat revealed that Ironheart is going to end on a disappointing cliffhanger with Riri making a deal with a villain. I'm assuming it's Mephisto then, Josh?
Yeah.
I guess
So
there's
she doesn't win? She doesn't get redeemed? She doesn't become a good person?
No, she sacrifices Tony Stark's legacy.
Beautiful.
She's
I believe there's a diner scene where they're in a restaurant and what's his name? The actor who's playing Mephisto.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Thank you. He and Riri are at a table, and I guess Sacha Baron Cohen just completely steals the show. It's not hard to do with the acting chops that are on the screen for most of the episodes. But yeah, I guess they make a deal that she will sell him her soul if he brings back her sister Natalie. Even though Natalie is an AI that she's already created. So it's a mess, but yeah, we'll see.
There you go. R33S3M, King and Queen of the Ring West, call it. Who's in the finals, Doc?
I haven't the slightest fucking clue.
So it's Cody and Randy Orton, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Which I'm like, why? Both of these guys could get title shots whenever they want. Both of these guys don't need the push. You should have had someone like a Jacob Fatu and LA Knight going at. I mean, I know we just had a match with them at
winner gets a guaranteed.
Yes, because what
shot,
LA Knight needs is more being sucked into the bloodline vortex.
No, it's more so that they have earned their push.
But the winner gets a title shot, correct?
Yeah.
Cody needs to be able or have a reason, I guess, to get to John Cena so we can end him.
Why doesn't Cody already have a title shot? He should have a rematch clause.
He had that's what I was going to say.
Rematch clause is the gayest thing in all of wrestling. When you lose, go back to the fucking back of the line, asshole.
Remember when they did that
fresh
with The
blood.
Rock, where The Rock had to go
Yes.
back to the very beginning, and his first opponent was like the Brooklyn Brawler. He had to work his way back up.
And then
So
Queen
I'll
of
call
the-
Cody on that one.
yeah, probably. And then Queen of the Ring is Jade Cargill versus Asuka. And if
Jade
Jade
Cargill.
Cargill fucking wins after that atrocious match Monday night, I swear to God, I'm gonna riot.
She's
Yeah.
gonna win.
I've never seen Roxanne Perez look bad in the ring. And Jade
She couldn't
Cargill,
keep up with Jade. That's not Jade's
No,
fault.
Jade
She shouldn't have to
couldn't
slow
keep
down
up
for
with-
Roxanne.
oh,
She can
God.
wrestle ring. Roxanne can wrestle rings around Jade.
And Jade's coochie popped out on that one pin, so you know
heard
there's
that.
that too.
Jesus.
Isn't it on
Fucking
Netflix
kid
now?
show.
Listen,
Josh, what are you
this
doing?
is what happens when you wear a thong while wrestling. Her little pad cover slipped out first, and then Roxanne did like a back bend pin, pulling her legs back, and all you saw was half of her cooch,
Oh my goodness.
hair and all. Like it was not fun.
Oh, so she
You
is
don't need
not
a
a
description,
Brazilian.
Josh. It's fine.
Listen, we know how
don't
to
need a
react in these
description.
situations. It was a dulcet scream that came out of. I've got like a 50-inch TV over here, and all I saw was poontang. Yeah, but
She's
no,
gonna win.
Asuka. Well, here's the thing. I don't know what's going on, but since Asuka come back, these 2 weeks that she's been back, it's reminding me of NXT Asuka, not whatever we were having with Asuka. Like, if she's
Psycho Asuka, where she's just screaming for no reason.
well, you know how like how sharp her movements were and how quick, and like it felt like she was lethal when she first came onto the scene. That's what it feels like.
Yeah,
Again.
because she was
So,
young. She's old now.
but she's back
like
to
your
that,
age.
dude. I don't. Well, yeah, but I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe she got on the fish oils, but I'm gonna say Jade Cargill, Cody Rhodes win the King and Queen of the Ring.
It would make sense from a storyline too, because I fully think Naomi's going to win the title from someone, and then it would make sense for Jade to then go fight Naomi to carry that feud going. Naomi's the best she's ever been right now, in my opinion, character wise. Her ratchet kind of
The
character.
rear view Naomi.
I'm
Jasmine,
saying
Jasmine Crockett, ghetto Jasmine Crockett, Naomi.
yes. Character
Lady that
wise,
jumps up and puts her ass in someone's face as a finisher, Naomi.
so she's playing a psycho right now. She's like psycho crazy bitch Naomi. Like
Yeah, but
it's
she'll always
entertaining.
be the
It's entertaining,
whatever
that's all I'm saying.
Funkadelics with Brodus, or was it something Clay?
Brodus Clay.
Brodus
Brodus
Clay.
Clay. There we go.
Tyrus.
Nerd. What are these writers in making deals with the devil for hero stories? You got to put the hero in a bad situation. It feels like an easy out, I guess, Aaron, to
You
force
shouldn't-
them to feel like they have no choice.
Hero shouldn't accept a deal with the devil.
No, it's a very Peter Parker thing to do. But
That's for Hollywood stars
Nail-
and rock
or-
stars.
That's for
everybody
Riri.
in
It's
entertainment.
definitely-
Riri's not a hero, so I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just make her a
Even-
villain. Just turn her heel. It's
Yeah,
who she
even-
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think I heard someone say, like, it would actually be a more interesting show if Mephisto is trying to create the Dark Avengers. And so he starts, like, recruiting all these, like, terrible, terrible people who are just, like, the opposites of their counterparts. And so he's, like, making deals with, and Riri's, like, one of the first ones to create the team, and, like, I was like, that might actually be kind of fun and interesting and dark. And, but yeah, I mean, like when we look at something like the Disney Hercules film from the 90s, Hercules makes a deal with Hades, but only for the altruistic reason. He goes, he shakes his hand to relinquish Herc's power so that Meg doesn't get hurt, and he does it to sacrifice himself for her or whatever. Here, it's just because Riri just wants her own selfish reasons, so there's no real altruistic reason for any of these characters.
Well, very nice. Definitely appreciate everyone supporting the channel. We do have one more topic. We're not going to be able to get into it as much as I wanted to, but we did have the new history of the DC universe. Josh, you are a big DC fan. What were your thoughts on this?
Look, from a reading perspective, it's not going to be for everyone. It feels more like a textbook than a comic. But
Most
from
definitely.
the from the standpoint of DC Comics, the people working within DC Comics and actually trying to lay a foundation and some continuity, I think it's great. I think it needs to happen, and people need to actually follow whatever they're putting here. And thank God Wonder Woman is not the first freaking superhero to ever exist.
But she's not even the first Wonder Woman anymore.
I'm okay with that. Like, you've got Amazons and stuff before. Just
yeah, but
whatever.
She's unique because she gave up the Paradise Island to go and try and be with man and help them out. Like, she's the outlier. That's what made her special.
I mean, sure.
You're kind of removing her agency and what made her cool.
I mean, but we ended up having so many other Amazons that would kind of came out and started doing the same thing as well over time. So you lost your agency then. Diana stands apart because she is Diana.
So I don't know, man. I don't understand why Superman wasn't more focal. Everyone's like, you don't understand that Superman wasn't the first hero. It's like, no, I get that the JSA existed and all that stuff that they threw in there. But Superman is the alpha. He's the moment that the Age of Heroes arrives on DC Comics. I think they should have structured it in a different manner leading up to that, and basically removing him from the opening salvo and then treating his arrival or the destruction of Krypton like the arrival of Martian Manhunter and the creation of the Superman Project. I thought really did take away from the importance of Superman being the very beginning piece of the entire thing.
I don't know. I looked at it as, okay, here's the cliffhanger because we're getting another issue, right?
Getting 3 more issues.
Yeah. So the Superman getting sent out on the ship was like the very last thing we saw from this issue.
Yeah, but they were playing it off like Superman is just another superhero. He arrives eventually. Look at all the stuff I don't know. I think they made a big mistake.
I took it as like, here, we're going to go through thousands of years worth of history real quick. And then for the second issue and the next 2 following, you're really going to get a focus on who are core.
But I'm more of the camp of Sullied, where I thought it was one of the most boring things I've ever read in my life.
Oh, 100%.
Like, it was kind of rough.
It's like a textbook. Yeah.
But it's got a lot of Easter eggs. That's the one thing it's got going for it.
Right. Like, look at Barry's office. I mean, that is specifically made like that's an Easter basket, of everything in a way. I usually love DC continuity stories. This thing should be made for me, but I get a problem with like Mark Waid, and that's about it. But he does have his black belt in DC continuity. He is really good at his job, yet you have to suffer the person.
They should have just released this as a fucking trade or some type of encyclopedia or something.
Yeah, this is like
it's not meant to be read in floppies.
No. Right, this is the serialized format of the trade paperback. It's like I had the same problem with like this week's Spider-Man versus Predator, because it's like this is obviously a trade paperback and this shouldn't be released in floppy format, because it's just like this story. This issue sucked. I mean, I like the art, but and there's a couple of quippy things Peter says, but overall, it's like, what a flat, boring individual issue. You know what I mean?
Thought fucking Predator versus Spider-Man was great.
Well, yeah, it's.
I saw Predators fucking like ziplining off of a spaceship onto the fucking Daily Bugle.
It's got cool stuff, but I think it just fails as a floppy. This should not be serialized. This would be stronger if they had the courage to release it in total. You know what I mean? That's just an opinion, though. Same thing.
Terrible opinion. You just nullified all the wonderful stuff you said about New History of the DC Universe.
I didn't read it. I mean, but I would usually eat this stuff up, because I'm so interested in like the Golden Age and how are they going to fit that into a new continuity.
They're trying to just stitch everything together. I don't think it works out in the end. I think they're also doing something, Josh, that's like is unnecessary. Who's going, I can't read this fucking Batman book because I don't understand how the source wall worked in the beginning. No one's saying that stuff. If you want to redefine it, fucking throw it in the story.
I completely agree with you. That's why I said I'm not sure this is great for people to read, but I think it's great for DC to have for their team.
Yeah, it's internally maybe.
Yeah.
But even then, I think like just the ham-fisting different universes in there, it never works.
For sure. I mean, me saying this reads like a textbook is not a compliment.
It felt like high praise to me.
No.
But it's the first Mark Waid book I think I've read in 2 years.
Fair.
Maybe it's been 18 months.
Why read it?
Because it was recontextualizing the DC history.
Is it going to matter though? He recontextualized the Marvel history, and it was immediately forgotten.
This will also
Punisher was still in
Exactly.
Punisher was still in Vietnam. He wasn't in the Trans-Siberian conflict or whatever Mark Waid tried to reframe it as.
And also, they just did this. Didn't they just let John Ridley basically do this?
The other history of the DC universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just let John Ridley do this.
Yeah, we're
You know what's weird is his is better
revealed.
because it's actually got a story, so it's a comic book.
Yeah.
Even though it's John Ridley, it's kind of weird. But
Yeah.
New History of the DC Universe, not a comic book.
No. At all.
It's a pamphlet.
Yeah.
It's, from what I saw of it, it is a timeline in panel format instead of just a really long sheet on your wall with a bunch of.
Funny enough, it's
points.
also got that at the end. It's told in like 2 parts.
That's all you need. That's
The
all.
second part is all the text.
This is a fucking poster. It's a poster. That's it. It's a poster that you buy for real hardcore continuity nerds that they frame and hang up on their wall. Yeah, 0 Hour. They did it too.
Yeah, they got a pull-out page in here where it has the whole timeline on it after we've, like, you know what I mean, just in one issue. And
Sully,
yeah.
Sully, I have that issue, and the creator of Alan Scott, Martin Nodell, drew a Green Lantern on it for me and signed it before he passed.
Boom.
It was like a couple years before
That's
he
so
passed.
cool, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Very nice. So I wanted to hit that one really quick. Wanted to get Josh's thoughts about that. Me personally, I think portraying Superman as just another guy was not a great idea, but we all have our own opinions on that. Caleb says there's a YouTuber called Snarky J. I hope you'll invite her someday.
We have invited Snarky J. She's too big. She's too big for us. No, she.
Snarky J again.
I mean, I could reach out again.
Yeah.
She's busy. She's busy making costumes. So.
Well, I was going to say she doesn't really do comics. I thought she's just a cosplayer.
No, but she does pop
she's
culture
the
commentary. Yeah, she's into the characters and she does pop culture commentary. So we would probably have her on a show.
She'd be a great
if she wanted to come on. Yeah, I think she'd be a great fit. She's got really good entertainment takes, especially for somebody as young as she is. Like she's got some good insight.
Unfortunately, you guys might want to skip me that week because I have utter disdain for cosplayers.
Yeah, not a fan.
What?
Well, I'm not even going to tell you what I saw fucking Josh wearing in Dallas. Then
I have a lot of friends who are cosplayers, and they actually
he was the original Robin with the short shorts,
Robin, short pants, and Dixie boots. Dude, that was great.
That's right.
Josh. You look great.
Is Doc secretly Cully Hamner? Is that why he doesn't come on camera? Because remember, Cully Hamner was like super anti-cosplayers. Like, what are all these women doing here? And it was like, I don't know.
I don't care about women at Comic Cons. I just don't want fucking cosplayers. Your attention whores, get out of my building.
Oh, come on, man.
JDC
cosplayers.
Soups either due to DC losing the copyright in 2034 or just being woke, or both. The ultimate masculine, patriarchal, and inspirational hero is lost.
Is he? I'm enjoying the hell out of Joshua Williamson's Superman.
Did you enjoy the hell this week? It felt like a down issue for me.
It was okay. I think it's just a kind of maybe a filler issue because next month is going to be even bigger, introducing him to
like Farm and Graft.
The Dark Side Legion. So I'm looking forward to that, especially because it's not the race swap Bendis versions. These are pretty spot on, Silver Age, Bronze Age, Legion of Superhero look. Like how I'm so interested in this right now.
So Josh, based on what he's saying there, I could definitely see a place where James Gunn's Superman comes out and we've seen the highlights or whatever. When we actually see him, I'm going, that's not Superman. He's kind of a bitch.
Possibly.
Well, you've got your sources. Have they seen it? Is it a good fucking interpretation or not?
Listen, I don't really have sources at Warner Brothers. My source is Disney employees, unfortunately. So that's why I have Marvel news a lot of times, and not as far as the movies and TV shows go, and not Warner Brothers news.
Well, what's the fucking inside scoop on Fantastic Four then? What are you just hoarding stuff?
No. So look, I'll just say the person that I know works in creative development, so they're usually the ones that are pulling stuff together for theme parks or the marketing before films and everything. They're partnering to make sure toy lines, whatever they're doing, is in line with what's coming out. So they handle that kind of stuff. And
well, what are you holding out on me? Give me a toy job, Josh.
It's not a toy job. It's the marketing aspect that then goes to toy lines for them to make their toys.
Well, they know the toy people. Tell them hook a brother up.
So
what's up with the fucking thing beard?
I don't know. I didn't know about that until I saw the trailer, and I was like, "Why are we doing this?"
Terrible.
It does.
It looks like he has face herpes.
Well, it also looks like they're the ambiguously gay duo. Like, how is Johnny holding the thing? Isn't the thing like he's got to be like 2 tons, right?
Oh yeah.
How is Johnny holding him up?
Yeah,
because
it's kind of like when you watch that Transformers movie
fire.
and you got the Transform with the big fucking beard chomping on a cigar, and you're like, okay, we've gone too far.
But they'd already done the beard. You'd already seen the beard because you had the Jetfire with a beard.
Yeah. Transformer.
What really gets me is the
you see Michael Bay is coming back? Do we got the inside scoop on Michael Bay, Josh?
No, I can't. I don't want to know anything about Michael Bay. I can't stand him.
Well, he's doing another fucking Transformers movie.
Yeah, I'm not shocked.
You guys didn't go see Transformers 1, and now we're getting Michael Bay back. See?
They put out a weird trailer that made it look like it was for 4-year-olds.
But you had, I mean, granted, like how many people watch us, but you had guys like me out there saying this movie is great. Go see it.
Yeah, but it was after the fact. American Texan, the new DC history is a drawn Comics Explained video. That is the best description I have ever heard of that video or of that comic book.
Yeah. Spot on.
Yeah, I love his channel too. Seriously, it's good shit.
Very well done. So we are sponsored today, and I definitely want to give another shout out and thank you to the team behind Unholy Nightmare number 2. Unholy Nightmare number 2 is live on Kickstarter. This issue cranks up the carnage with even more monsters, madness, and mayhem. And if you're a collector, buckle up, Buttercup. We've got foil and metal covers that'll melt your short box. Our very own Drew, aka Dolan Waddick, and Aaron Sparrow are back, and they've teamed up with Voodoo for the Golem add-on, a supernatural war story packed with fury, grit, and Nazi splattering vengeance. You're seeing the trailer now, but that's just the surface. In the final 48 hours, we're unleashing 2, count that 2, killer covers. Aurelio's raw black and white original and a brutal full-color battle variant by JC Grande. Don't miss your shot. Scan the code or hit the link in the video description to back Unholy Nightmare number 2 today. Very, very nice. Definitely. Congratulations to Aaron and Drew and everybody else behind Unholy Nightmare number 2. Wrapping up next weekend, and Aaron and Drew and some other guests will be live here on the channel for a stream. I will not make it because I'll be sleepy, but they're going to be wrapping up the campaign and having a good time. So you'll get an extra 2 or 3 hours of streaming next weekend, which should be fun.
Yeah. And guys, I got to say, we got 118 backers on the Unholy Nightmare right now. It's funded, but just a little bit over the funding. We haven't hit some of the stretch goals and everything yet. Drew has worked his ass off on this. Aurelio has turned in just some absolutely beautiful artwork. The story in the book is great. It's a lot of fun. It's really building out into a really interesting universe. So if you have the means, please go back it. Check out the Golem add-on. I wrote that with Drew. You get to, if you don't like my work at all, you've got the chance to get in on some of that. And these things are going to end up being really limited. So, if this ever takes off, you will have some really limited run comics in your collection.
Very, very cool stuff. Let's get to some comic book recommendations. MVP, the 40-hammer Warhammer K guy, 40 Warhammer 40K guy. You recommend
Warhammer 40K?
Warhammer 40K comic book?
Nailed it.
Hamkegger 40K? What? Hamkegger?
I thought you said something about him being a cammer. I'm like,
we got there.
Oh, no.
We got there eventually.
I got it on loop.
Aw, you're pretty definitely.
This week, yeah, Spider-Man v Wolverine is pretty rad. I mean, we talked about Marvel v Capcom earlier, and those characters look like they're ripped straight from the video game, so that was pretty rad. Love the art, very McFarlane-esque. And then, since July is coming up here in just a few days, it's America Month. So July 4th is coming up. So I'd recommend all the great Grunwald, Captain America stuff, and then all the Roger Stern and John Byrne. There were only 9 issues of that one. So that one's pretty easy to read. They collected in a trade paperback, I think called like War and Remembrance or something. So I'd recommend that as well because, I just read through that and it's impeccable. It's actually surprisingly, John Byrne has said in interviews that some of his fans consider his Cap work, just those 9 issues alone, to be some of his best work of his career, which is saying something when he's worked on X-Men for such a long time. So I'd recommend those 9 issues for sure.
Very nice. I'm going to recommend something for you. You're looking for some great Americana. There's a book from Robert Venditti, Eddie Barrows on art. It's called Freedom Fighters. It was a 12-issue miniseries, and you have Uncle Sam leading the revolution in an alternate timeline where the Nazis won, and you have like a Nazi version of Superman.
Ooh, that sounds awesome. Thanks for the recommendation, man. I'll check. I'm looking at it right now. That's cool.
Robert Venditti, absolutely fantastic stuff. Glitchioki thinks that you will like Snarky J, Doc. She can take a joke and is very aware of pop culture and the state that it's in.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
she's not just a cosplayer, dude.
Yeah, no, she does commentary. She's great. I like her channel a lot.
Listen, she's hot and she's a cosplayer. Okay, we all know why a lot of her, these channels blow up, and even if they're not into comics or whatever, they have the right takes. They look good, and then people and they're a female who blows up, and it's like, okay, fine.
Yeah, no, there's definitely an attractive privilege that goes along on YouTube. You can come look at look at our mugs, or you can go look at Snarky J. I mean, I know I'd rather look at Snarky J than anybody here, except maybe Max, because he is pretty.
We can look at Snarky J, or we can look at Fatal J. You know what I mean?
Snarky J or Fatal J, yeah. Could we get them both on the same show? No, then Doc would definitely
great.
Very cool stuff. And Frank Sanka says, I just backed Unholy Nightmare 2 for you guys there.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it.
Very cool stuff. It was great seeing Frank in Dallas as well. Really cool. So, MVP, anything else going on in your channel that people should know about? You got any videos or big interviews or something?
Past 2 weeks I've done a weekly comic review, which has been kind of fun, just reviewing the books that have come out recently. Did a Battle Beast review, talked about Punisher Warzone recently. So the first issue of both of those series. So it's been a ton of fun. So I'd recommend those. And then for July, I am going to hopefully have a retrospective of that Cap run, kind of like the whatever happened to the Sentinel of Liberty framework and that kind of theme. So that'll be a cool video, a little bit longer, but more of a retrospective on that whole era of Cap. So yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. And then obviously our Friday night live streams where we talk about everything going on in the comic industry. So
very cool. Ale wants you to know, I think you're all very handsome.
Oh, Ale, as long as you're here, I was asking in the chat about you earlier. Ale sent me a gift card, an Amazon gift card, which was very, very kind of her. And it purchased Darklawn from G.I. Joe. So I just wanted to show you what that went to.
That's awesome.
I could have bought food. I could have bought, something responsible, but I bought Darklawn.
Brandon Day says, I just backed the same, and I'm getting all the covers.
Oh, Brandon, thank you, man. Much appreciated.
Congratulations, dude. You're going to love it. All right, Josh, you got any comic books you want to recommend this week? Not a great DC week, but there's some decent stuff there.
Yeah, not a great DC week. My recommendations are going to be Huck. I'm still having some fun with it. I thought this issue started off really, really strong. Got a little weird there towards the end, but still overall a good read. Hyde Street was, for me, a ton of fun. I love the kind of throwback to the horror stuff there. So if you haven't been reading Hyde Street, go pick it up. Feral is also continuing to be a solid read, and they kind of just keep changing the game a little bit with each new arc. So that and God, I feel like I'm missing something. Green Lantern, solid. I wish they would have focused more on the Manhunter story for this issue, but yeah, it's a good one as well. And then I'll echo that the Spider-Man Wolverine's a fun book. I'm not as crazy about Kari Andrews' art as everyone else, but I know
you're a fool.
I know. and Wes, I will say, Absolute Wonder Woman was not good, but I'm so mad that we don't have the that one artist, and I can't think of his name now.
Mattia Delilua.
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
I thought the second half of Absolute Wonder Woman was much better, but the first half was completely drugged down by exposition.
Oh, agreed. But can you imagine his art with that second half? Oh,
exactly.
It would have been fantastic.
I'm with you, dude. Anything people need to know about for Popeye culture before we move on to the next one?
I mean, just come see us. We're there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So most Tuesdays we're rotating shows. Every Thursday we are doing Floppy Drop, where we discuss that week's releases. And then you can find me on Friday nights on Max's channel for Comic Shop Conversations. And then when I'm not working Saturdays, I'm hanging out over here with Wes. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Carlitos Figueroa. I'm glad DC is doing well. While I'm mostly given up on Marvel, except for a few titles, I'm considering any comics like Rook, Exodus, Geiger, and G.I. Joe by Josh Williamson. Overall, I'm happy with DC's current status.
I think you should probably definitely read G.I. Joe if you were just considering
both of them.
Yeah, both A Real American Hero and G.I. Joe.
Yeah,
100%.
Recommend Geiger and Rook Exodus as well. Great stuff. And I would do Space Ghost, Flash Gordon. There's some really good indie books out there. It's certainly Transformers.
Conan, like we can't say enough good things about Jim Sub's Conan. Yeah, Flash Gordon's great.
Almost all the hotness is going on the indie side. Although I will admit, Marvel was much, much better this week. This was the best week they've had of the year so far.
Agreed. So, best thing at Marvel right now is Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell. And I'm sad we only have one issue left.
Yeah. So I'm glad DC is able to tide you over because everybody is struggling if you're a Marvel fan these days. It's just rough going. But definitely check out Rook Exodus. It's going to be coming back, I believe, in September, October. So now would be a good time to go in there, get the first 6 issues, and be ready for when it's ready to come back with Jason Fabok's amazing art on that series. And thank you so much for supporting the channel. All right, Sully, you got any books you want to recommend, dude?
Dude, I got a stack of funny books. I'm just waiting to unleash on everyone. I got 6 books from my local comic book shop this past Wednesday on new release day. Plus, I had 2 crowdfunders show up at in my mailbox just this week. I backed and got really promptly Emily Brooks Miller, the daughter of Mark Miller, and this is her book, Bird Dad. You might recognize this if you're a Mark Miller fan, because Bird Dad is on the last page of basically every Dark Horse Millerverse version 2.0 that you've seen get released in floppy format. And it's a really fun book. She's got her master's in like art history. She's an acorn off this family tree with his sense of humor. And it's not for everyone, but I like it. And I'm glad to support a young artist. I got Notorious. I got Cyberfrog Doc Harvest issue 2.9. It was promised by September of 2023, and I got it just the other day. So what's that? It was only 21 months late. I'm not busting balls. I'm just stating the obvious, reading my Indiegogo page. And I'm looking forward to this because I am a fan of his art and the Cyberfrog story so far.
I prefer Todd McFarlane clones that aren't wooden.
Oh my goodness. What did I get from the Funny Book Bodega, my local comic book shop? I got Huck, Big Bad World, issue 2. I think of 3, because Mark's usually really good with. Is this or is this a 5?
I think it's 4 or 5.
4 or 5, cool. But it's Mark Miller. I love it. I love him. I got a back Psychic Sam. I'm glad he's so accessible to our community. I feel like I could say, hey, Mark, you want to do an interview on my show? You and Ramita want to show up? You know what I mean? Like, they would probably say yes. But look at the back last page. It's Bird Dad by Emily Brooks Miller. You know what I mean? As promised. Let's see. I got Green Lantern 24, Really enjoyed the heck out of this. Last page had a nice reveal. And so far, Jeremy Adams has imported. This could be a key issue because it's the first appearance of a certain character that
Not
premiered.
true.
Really?
That character from the animated universe showed up during Jeff Johns.
Really? Okay, cool. I mean, then and this is why we talk about comic books, because we self-correct and point these things out. And but it's big fan of Green Lantern, the animated series, and I love seeing this character come back then. Superman 27 by Joshua Williamson and art by Eddie Barrows. I love Eddie Barrows' art. This is a decent issue. I'm not disappointed, and it's on my pull list. I got Ultimate Spider-Man number 18. I got a variant cover with Mr. Negative just because I could get a variant cover. And with the announcement of this iteration of Ultimate wrapping up potentially, I've kind of lost my fire for this book because it's like I'm already thinking like, well, I got 6 more issues to go at $5 a whack, so it's getting me for $30 more. And where is this going? What does it matter? Hopefully it does go somewhere. We got Incredible Hulk 26 by Phil Kennedy Johnson with art by Kev Walker. And I think Kev Walker lately has been really hit or miss. And this issue was mostly a miss for me, but it's on my pull list. And my pick of the week is Spider-Man Wolverine 2, written by Mark Guggenheim. Awesome art by Kari Andrews. I got the Eric Larson variant cover only because it was on the shelf and it was the same cover price. And first of all, I thought it was Frank Miller at first. And then I'm like, no, that's Eric Larson. That's I had to look it up. And but that was this is a really good series. This is like the gem. This could be better than Daredevil Cold Day in Hell.
Comics Embrace is calling you out, Wes. They're saying that you can't give my guy a big screen when he shows his books.
No, that's fine, dude. You know what I mean? Like, only Doc deserves the big screen.
There we go. Let's see that cover.
Look at that cover. I mean, this is very
I hate it,
reminiscent.
but
I thought it was the modern Frank Miller look. You know what I mean? His kind of lazy approach. I don't mean that ball bustingly, but like, that famous Batman absolute cover, the Wolverine recently. So this is really like in the thick, outline on the eyes. I really thought this was Frank Miller, but no, I think it's like it's Eric Larson himself, Man of the Savage Dragon. Yeah, and that's what we got this week. Thank you so very much. Thank you for the best live chat in the world every Saturday right here with the Comics Aficionados.
Yeah, and a shout out to Yellow Flash. I think I saw him there for a moment. I hope you're enjoying the show.
Cool.
Sparrow, do you have any recommendations this week?
No, I haven't been to the shop. I don't even know what's out this week. So I'm just going to run down a couple of. I'm just going to name some indie comics that I think you should be supporting. Obviously, this show is sponsored by Unholy Nightmare. I think you should check that out. Obviously, I think you should check out Kneel Before Doomface. We're going to be closing soon, and I'm so excited for issue 2. We're like almost halfway through issue 2, Pencils and Inks, and it's as much as I love issue number 1. Renzo is like leveling up on issue 2, so it looks absolutely great. There's some other good indie books out there you should check out. Check out Phenomenova by Von Coleman. Check out Alpha Red by James Q. Check out John's Longbox's book, Heroic Tales, also drawn by Renzo. Also has the Kneel Before Doomface team, Renzo and Oscar on that book. So a lot of good indie stuff out there that you can check out, and then just go to your local comic store and support Ghost Machine and Skybound right now, because they are putting out some of the best books. Check out the Titan books. Check out Conan by Jim Zub. Check out Solomon Kane. All of those things are firing on all cylinders. So those are my recommendations.
And if you get a chance, go by Crowdfunder and check out the Mars Chronicles. This is Lewis's first comic book that he's ever created. It's going to be an adaptation of the Princess of Mars. So if you're in the Barsoom saga, John Carter and all that kind of stuff, absolutely true to Edgar Rice Burroughs' original vision, not trying to change anything about that, just rediscovering it in comic book form. So if you can go by Crowdfunder, check that out as well. Last but not least, Doc, do you have any comic book recommendations?
I'm going to recommend that everybody go and check out our review of Uncanny X-Men number 16, which will be out on today's Saturday, Monday,
Maybe
right?
Monday. Yes.
Yeah, probably Monday. I forget what fucking day it is. But then I am gonna go with Ultimate Spider-Man number 18. I'm still enjoying this comic. Still not a lot of action, but it's not a bad comic. I genuinely enjoy it. It's good Spider-Man soap opera action, but this book is all about moving people around on the chessboard. Then we will go with Spider-Man and Wolverine number 2. The Carrie Andrews art is excellent. Mark Guggenheim is Mark Guggenheim. I mean, he's a mediocre writer that sometimes does great work, sometimes does less than great works. Most of the time is just merely a perfectly competent superhero artist or superhero writer. But you got the vibe. And then, since I was in such a Spider-Man mood, we'll go with the McFarlane Spider-Man number 1, the old one from way back in the day. This one is still my bagged copy. I think this is the bagged. This is the direct market version, and I really enjoy it. Or no, this is the newsstand. Sorry, it's got the barcode. I'm fucking dumb. Yeah, so newsstand version. Yeah, I have a couple. I think I have most of the covers. The only one I'm missing is the platinum. One of these days, I'll actually stumble upon one of those and buy it. And then, since we're right around the time where, unfortunately, about 7 years ago now, 8 years ago, we lost Michael Turner. I kind of gave me some urge to go reread his original Fathom run. All the stuff at Top Cow was actually really good. Once it gets to Aspen, it gets less good. I think because most of the time he was busy trying to launch a couple other properties and start a company. But this was I really enjoyed Fathom. If you haven't read it, this is the cover that I can actually put on screen. I could do the cover for number 0 too, but number 1, the other 2 covers that I have here might get Wes demonetized for partial nudity. So you're welcome. I was considerate enough to make sure it was the one where she's fully clothed instead of the one where she's actually naked and the one where she's topless. So you're welcome. So those are my recommendations for this week.
Well, very nice. I appreciate that. I hope everyone's having a fantastic weekend. And I guess it's time to sign off and get back to eating some chicken nuggets. So we'll see you next weekend, folks. Have a great weekend.
Go home.